In compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act, PL 1975, Chapter 231, the notice requirements have been satisfied. The meeting dates for the year are confirmed at the annual meeting, are posted on the public bulletin board in the lobby of the Municipal Center, and published in the record within the first 10 days of the new year. Notice of this meeting via the June 4th, 2020 Sunshine Notice has been sent to the Record, Suburbanite, Northern Valley Press, and has been posted on the bulletin board and borough website. So go right to we considered, right? Okay, the first item to be considered is liquor license fees.
Yes, I have a proposed resolution. It is up to the governing body to decide the municipal fee. What I had proposed initially was to reduce only for plenary retail consumption licenses from $2,000 to $750. There was a proposal by Councilwoman O'Connor and Councilmember Menon, instead of $750 to $1,000, with no change to the distribution or club licenses. So, and just as an update, I logged on to the state database, and 4 licensees have applied for their renewal. 2 of them are the distribution licenses, which are the liquor stores, 1 club, and 1 consumption. So licensees are starting to file in for their renewals.
Yes, Councilwoman Dayton.
Good evening, everyone. So this was a request made by some of our restaurants to various members of the council to give them a little bit of relief during this time when the restaurants were hurting and they were not getting the same number of patrons and they're not getting the amount of business and meeting their financial needs. This is a small thing that the borough takes in. It's a license fee. And my initial request to the council was that we waive it for this yearly period while the pandemic has been going on. I do not think that we should be splitting hairs here, because I do think that these requests from the restaurants make a difference to them. In the grand scheme of our $30 million budget, we could, out of these liquor licenses, $26,900. And I think that we are in a position where we can give the restaurants relief. While it seems like a lot, I do believe it will help these restaurants pay their mortgages, put the money towards other things that are needed right now. And I do not agree that we should be, just splitting it in half. I think we should give the full relief.
Any other comments from the council? Adam, you have your hand up?
Yeah, I think it's, certainly want to make sure that we help everybody. My only feeling is that it's this is not magic money, so the money is coming out of somewhere. The money is going to be spent. That means that money has to be made up somewhere else. A number of these players, actually a healthy majority of these players, are either these pocket licenses, which unfortunately I know as a council we've been talking about how do we get these people that are holding these licenses and I would argue hurting our town, because we should be using them. We're going to be benefiting them as well, which I think obviously we want to almost do the opposite. Other ones, and thankfully, are doing actually quite well, because some of these are also some of the liquor stores and other places that have been incredibly generous to us. So I certainly know that the 1 or 2 players that are hurting, and I want to actually help them. Please send them my way. I just don't want to, for a much smaller percentage, I'm calculating 16% of the whole that need it. The other groups don't, or much less so. And again, this money is not free. So if we lower this revenue, that means that we have to raise taxes on someone else. That's my thought.
Questions?
How many licenses do we have? Sorry.
4 out of the 12. Those are just strictly pocket licenses.
Comments from other council members? Anyone have their hand up there?
Julie, raise your hand.
Julie?
Hi, yes. I had proposed, after what she laid out, I think she said a few of the establishments had already paid their licenses in full. Is that correct, Lisette?
No, they paid, the state fee. They applied online. It's just, then the next part would be for the municipality to collect its fee and then the businesses to pay their sales tax. So some have done step one already.
Right. So I thought that, working on our other taxpayers, that it was only fair to weigh all his interests, and I thought that meeting them at 50% was my proposal.
Comments, council people? Jeff, you want to weigh in?
So I actually have a question. Are there any licenses for restaurants that don't hold liquor licenses? I mean, just normal health licensing or any other licensing fees?
I mean, for a restaurant?
For a restaurant?
A restaurant pays a yearly fee to have their restaurant license, but it's not related to liquor because,
I know that,
Right.
but is it a fee for the borough or is it a state fee or?
oh, for the borough, it's a count, you get a license
There's
from,
a business registration
Right.
fee to the borough. That's done through the building department.
and then the county board of health, right?
And then there's a health fee, but that's collected separately. I could only speak about the fee that I collect.
All right, so, we do have various fees, and this is to, I think, the point that if we rob Peter, we gotta pay Paul. I'm for giving some relief, but I don't know if I'm for 100%, especially given the number of pocket licenses, the fact that other restaurants are paying different fees that we're not abating, and I don't think we're in a position to do this for every business in town, unfortunately. We can do whatever we can do without hurting some of our other. So I would like to do something, and that's something we can reduce it as Councilwoman O'Connor and Councilman Menahan have been proposing.
So, Dan, do you want to weigh in?
I'll look at them. We're just going to lose this money, someone else is going to have to pay for it.
So it sounds like, Lauren, did you have your hands up?
I did. I had a question. Are we allowed to differentiate the consumption licenses between those that are in use and those that are pocket?
No, it's all the same category. You can only differentiate consumption and distribution in club. You can't differentiate within the category.
Actually, I apologize. I found another one that's not being used right now. So it's 5 actually between unfortunately now there's just a bunch of them that are not being used.
So it sounds like we have, and I could be wrong, it sounds like we have 3 for don't do anything and 3 for bring it to 0?
No, there was 3 to
No,
half.
no, that doesn't sound right.
It was 3 for 50%, 1 for waive it completely, and 2 for don't waive it at all.
So it sounds like we have 3 for 50%.
I
Only
would
on
agree to,
consumption.
listen, if versus not doing anything, I would agree to at least reduce it in half. That is acceptable to me if the council is comfortable with that.
Could we, I think Susan's here, I feel better if we could offset the cost somewhere. So if it's we're lowering the revenues by $100, is there a way to earmark, hey, we don't need copy paper, we're going to spend $100 less on copy paper or something? I'd feel better on that. Versus, again, what I don't want to do is by lowering the revenue and not lowering any of the costs, you're putting the tax burden on the residents again, which already bear, I don't know, Mr. Mayor and I used to talk about it, was it 75%, 80% of all taxes are paid by residents?
91%.
91%, you see I set that one up? 91% on residents. I'd rather not, what this would do is add more tax base to the residents.
Any further comments? Yes, Lauren?
So I just want to make it clear, I'm not for putting a bigger burden on the taxpaying residents here. However, I also don't want to see any of our businesses closed because they're making a decision between paying their liquor license to the municipality or other fees and paying their mortgage when they have reduced consumption of food and liquor and everything else. So I'm hopeful that our business district and the upcoming business plan that Adam and I are going to propose is going to help that situation and keep them in the, in the black. But, I just want to be careful that we recognize for the past 3 months, they have all been operating at a significantly reduced financial position. So, I know one of our restaurants has already closed and offered its kitchen to someone feeding dinners to our town, and I want to make sure that they can open again. And they do have a liquor license on this chart.
Okay, so it sounds like we have 4 votes for a 50% discount off the liquor license fees. And if that's the case, we move this to the consent agenda with those changes?
Yes.
Jeff, you have that? Jeff Zen is, he's muted.
He said yes.
I'm sorry, I was muted, and also someone just started work at this hour right across the street from me. I have to close the window.
Oh, that's not good.
Not good at all, real loud.
Okay.
After hours against our ordinance.
All right. So Jeff Zen, you have that?
So we're adding a resolution to the consent agenda
Right.
to reduce the municipal fee for liquor license renewal for restaurants only from $2,000 to $1,000, only for the 2020-2021 renewal term.
Correct.
Okay.
Just for clarification, Liz, and I apologize, when you say for restaurants, so this doesn't include the liquor stores as well? That's not part of this?
No.
Okay.
That was 50%.
Yes.
I was voting across the board. I was voting 10 consumption, 4 distribution, and 50%.
I would think.
Oh,
I
that's,
agree with Laura.
Talking about just the restaurants.
it should be just the restaurants.
So it sounds like just the restaurants, because only one person spoke up about that. Okay.
Can we take a vote on everything?
So the vote is we're going to lower the liquor license fees to the restaurants by 50%.
Mayor, there seems to be an interest for public comment. Would you allow it?
No, not this time, no. No. We'll have it during public comment time.
Can I say something?
No. This is not the time.
No, this is not public comment time.
Just Mr. Patel.
Okay, but it's up to the council to decide here. So we got to go, everyone's on the same page here? We're taking a vote?
No, we're not. We're all on different pages.
Yes, because I'm, like,
Wait, Mr. Patel, I'm sorry. We have to reserve your comments till later.
Yeah.
sorry.
Okay, so Omar, poll the council.
Councilwoman Dayton.
I'm sorry, what are we being polled for?
50% discount for restaurants only.
I want 50% discount for consumption and distribution and club.
Okay, so your vote is no then?
But I don't want to say no to the consumption, so that's not the correct question.
I agree with Laura.
So,
You need to reform that.
we could reform the question and say, do you want,
How about this? First question is, right now, the consumption rate, to do 50%. And then the next question, distribution, and then the next question, club. That
so
way-
do it all
that's-
separately?
Do it all separately, and that's the best way to obtain clarity.
Okay, so we have consumption.
Distribution and club.
Okay, so the first question is, do you want to approve a 50% discount on the consumption licenses? Please poll the council.
Councilwoman Dayton.
Yes.
Councilmember Grossman.
Yes.
Councilmember Menon.
Yes.
Councilmember Michaels.
Councilmember Michaels.
Adam, you have to take yourself off mute.
This is to go to the consent agenda, yes.
Okay.
Councilmember O'Connor.
Yes.
Councilmember Park.
Dan? Okay, so the question is, do you want to give a 50% discount off the consumption license fee?
No.
Okay, so now we have that. So that's 5 yeses, 1 no. Let's go to the distribution license. Do you want to give a 50% discount off the distribution license fee? Go ahead, poll the council, please.
Councilmember Dayton,
Yes, I still feel like our liquor stores have significantly been reduced, even though they are delivering and doing the best they can. They are still hurting during this time.
Okay, continue, Omar.
Councilmember Grossman,
No.
Councilmember Menon,
No.
Councilmember Michaels,
No.
Councilmember O'Connor,
What'd she say?
No.
She said no?
Councilmember Park,
No.
Okay, so the last question is, do you want to give a 50% discount off the licenses for clubs? Go ahead, Omar.
Councilmember Dayton,
So the two clubs in town are the Tenafly Elks and the JCC.
Correct.
So the fee is $150.
Correct.
I'm still a yes.
You're what? I didn't hear you.
Yes.
Yes? Okay, go ahead, Omar.
Councilmember Grossman,
Is she muted?
There's a little bit of a lag here, by the way. No, I'm a no.
Okay, keep going.
Councilmember Menon,
No.
Councilmember Michaels,
No.
Councilmember O'Connor,
No, and I love the Elks, but that's a no.
and Councilmember Park.
No.
Okay, so we're going to amend the resolution. There's a 50% discount on the consumption licenses only. Okay, thank you. The next item on the agenda is the street closer resolution under discussion. Who has comments or questions?
Adam, you want to start or you want me to start?
Outdoor dining.
Okay.
Go ahead, Lauren.
So I unfortunately could not make Friday night's meeting, but I'd like to say and discuss the downtown plan as a whole, what the goals were when we designed it, and the benefits of offering an option like this for our downtown businesses. As I've repeatedly just said, many of them have had reduced business over the last few months, and we are looking to help. And so one of the ways we're going to try to do that is to offer them an option for service and dining. Whoever's in the public and whoever else, can you mute, please? There's a lot of background noise. So the plan has been vetted by the police, by the fire, by TVAC. Adam has spoken to numerous businesses in downtown. Our Chamber of Commerce has weighed in. You guys have all heard the plan and had an opportunity to discuss it on Friday evening. I think the governor's order, Executive Order 150, lays out a very nice, strict guideline for keeping social distancing, for maintaining health standards, for keeping cleanliness, disinfecting, and we as a community need to decide if we're going forward how we are going to work with our own disinfecting, cleaning, and maintaining this space. The two priorities that I had in looking at this program were to ensure that every table was socially distanced at least 6 to 10 feet so that there is no hotspot of COVID that's going to result from this. And of course, to keep the cleanliness and safety of our downtown. So the heavy Jersey barriers, the proposed flower planters, the safe pedestrian walkways so that people can come and enjoy our stores as well as our restaurants. I strongly suggest that we pass the plan as vetted by the police. I think that it offers the best option to try to create this downtown pavilion for our restaurants. It maintains curbside pickup for those families and residents that are not comfortable sitting at the tables, but they can still utilize the restaurants and give them business. It maintains significant parking. We still have 2 municipal lots right on Washington, plus we have all the parking around Piermont and Cafe Angelique. It's not a far walk Plus, we have municipal parking lot O behind the movie theater for additional parking. I think that we unfortunately cannot get a downtown lighting scheme up and running quick enough, but I think we can make a beautiful area for our residents and our businesses to attract other residents from other towns. That's my pitch.
Thank you, Lauren, for that. Who would like to comments next? Anyone have their hand up? Can you tell, or is everyone? Dan?
I spoke with Adam earlier today. One of the things we discussed was the ability to adapt.
We lost you, Dan. Good.
Hello?
We're here. You're back. You're back, Dan.
Did I get along?
You spoke with Adam.
You spoke with Adam. We all know that now.
Yeah, and just, we discussed the ability to adapt the shapes of the barriers, the size, the scale, locations. One of the restaurants that wasn't included here was Ashu Garden, so there could be change made there in their area. And so if it affects retail too much, there's room to improve.
So, that's an excellent point. I want to reiterate that this plan is not dogmatic in terms of it. Every aspect of it has to be instituted immediately and stay up permanently. So, if we have to move slowly, watch it become successful. If it works, it works. If it doesn't work, we tactically retreat. If we need to add a restaurant, take a restaurant away, I think that's all very reasonable. And I think the intent here is to be very flexible, within reason. Next.
Were there any
Julie.
outstanding issues on Friday?
Julie.
Well, the only issues, everything was addressed by the change in the resolution. There's been no issues outstanding that are not reflected in here, that aren't reflected here, unless I've missed something. But a big, flexibility, we all basically agreed that flexibility was the key. And we'll change and adjust based on what the conditions are. Yes, Lauren?
The question, I wasn't sure if it made the resolution, was for the BYOB. I wanted to make sure for those restaurants that allow BYOB currently, if, in their indoor state, if that extends to the street, and I believe you said that will.
Yeah, so since we're extending the outdoor, so we're extending a restaurant's dining premises to include the outdoor, and that extends all their rights and privileges, if you will. So if you're on Washington Street and a diner is bringing a bottle of wine and the store owner permitted it inside before, he can permit it outside at his tables or her tables now. Julie, go ahead. Julie?
Yes, so, now I've reviewed the plan, just to bring everyone up to speed, and to echo the mayor's idea of flexibility. We said we would revisit 4 weeks after it becomes instituted, and maybe if there were particular questions, we all will be flexible. I just did want to bring up the point of we got contacted by Plaza Pet World about possibly having some parking spots behind her store that would help her as a retail business. I don't know, again, I'm just a little fuzzy on the procedure part. Do we have to write all those things into this resolution, or is that just the type of thing where we say yes or no later?
So the resolution is, the resolution which includes the 3 maps, basically allows for, some discretion in where we move things, includes BYOB, includes street, close a part of a street, maybe close Leicester Street, maybe we close Washington and Railroad, or just Washington, parts of it. So the resolution is very flexible in that regard, but to say it, because it doesn't need to be said, but it should be said, again, none of this is going to be done by fiat. It's all in discussion with the council, and if the council, if we don't want to keep it this way for a month, and we want to change it in 2 weeks, we'll change it in 2 weeks. And if I saw the email from Pet World, that's a conversation I'll have with the police chief, but there's likely no issue with carving out 3 spots there. But we have to, that's not a promise I'm making now, but we just have to work out the details of that. Yes, Lauren? Yes, Lauren?
Julie, I saw the email as well. One of the main concerns we have is the safety of these tables, and to park the 3 spots within this table pavilion is not the safety that we had discussed.
You got it wrong, Lauren. She was talking about the lot that's behind her.
So that's an open parking lot. O is an open municipal lot. She wants them designated for her.
She'd like 3 spots behind the store because, first of all, she has an enormous store, and in her situation, it allows people with very heavy bags of, animal food to have closer access to the back door of her store. Unlike maybe the other retail on the block, it's much more heavy stuff people are carrying.
So in studying parking lot O, and I proposed the changes with Mazer Engineering, the issue with that is that the garbage trucks and large vehicles come back there, garbage and recycling. So we have to see if those kind of trucks can make it through before we make any promises.
Right, that's why we'll have that offline discussion with the chief and the DPW. Yes, Jeff?
I just don't want people to get confused. There's 2 different parking areas we're talking about. O is a lot that's separate. That's not what's being discussed here. What's being discussed is there's a couple of along the Washington Street bypass. Some of the stores own the spots that are behind them. Some of them are actually municipal spots. And there's a few back there that are municipal spots. They exist, so it shouldn't be a problem for sanitation or other vehicles. Just it's a question of, are we giving the proprietor of the business a certain right to use it?
Okay, other questions on this resolution?
Oh, Mark, did we have anything about the signage that we were gonna buy for, making some of the parking clearer to our residents?
Right, we're handling that through the DPW, not through this resolution. Any other questions? Vanu, anything? No? He's not muted, right?
No, it's not.
Okay, so,
Go through.
Sorry, I am muted.
Sorry, Vinod. No questions? Okay, so it sounds like the council is in agreement to add this to the consent agenda as it stands,
So we're adding another resolution to the consent.
right? We're adding this resolution. Do we need to take a consensus vote, or it sounds like everyone's okay?
No, everyone could just nod their
I'm sorry,
heads.
I forgot a point.
Go ahead.
In the resolution, number 11, no tables will be permitted on sidewalk. That is actually a problem. I forgot to bring this up earlier, I'm sorry. For the businesses, because some of the businesses I spoke to wanted the opportunity to have their wares possibly displayed on sidewalk tables. So will they have to then undergo permission per business?
No, so again, the way this is written, item number 11, no tables will be permitted on sidewalk unless otherwise approved.
Right.
If the resolution is designed to give the borough administrator effectively discretion to say, go ahead, you could put
It's
your,
for outdoor dining, it's
Yeah.
not for.
Oh, that's true.
Under the executive order, it's strictly outdoor dining, not outdoor retail. It's because indoor retail will be permitted, so we can't go contrary to the governor's executive order.
so that's a good question, good point, but if the stores already have indoor shopping, why would they need the tables outside?
Exactly.
Not everyone's comfortable going inside the stores.
But the executive governor's only giving permission of outdoor business strictly to outdoor dining, not
Okay.
outdoor retail.
So,
Can I assume then that all sidewalk permits that have been already filled out for this year are now subject again to the approval, that they're not automatically yes?
The outdoor,
This is not very unclear in this resolution.
the sidewalk permits are only for dining, and they're good for 12 months from the date of issuance, so this does not take away from that, anyone that has an existing permit.
so,
So then that's a major problem with me, because anybody right now with the ability to have sidewalk dining needs to be restricted because it cannot be socially distanced enough for COVID purposes. So any sidewalk permits that currently exist, you know, and we have numerous of them, need to be halted and then subject to the approval of this mayor and council.
so,
I think only 3 businesses have current approval.
so
We
we,
gave a bunch last year.
No, last year, but they're within the expiration period. So we normally put many resolutions on in the summer for sidewalk. So anyone, other than the 3 that were renewed earlier this year, whoever has a sidewalk permit is within very close to having it expire.
when would they typically expire?
It depends, it's the date of they
If
apply.
they're not expired right now, then we need to suspend them.
I agree with Lauren in the sense that I made a big deal on Friday about if we're gonna have street sitting, we cannot also have sidewalk.
So here's where we go. So let's say,
To respond to one thing to what Lauren said, even though they may have a permit, they are still subject to the governor's executive order regarding social distance. So notwithstanding the fact that they may have been issued a permit, they still must comply with the governor's executive order for social distancing.
What happens, Jeff, if they say, well, yeah, sure, we'll spread our tables out a whole bunch? We still don't want that right next to this dining.
well, so let's think about this for a second in terms of flexibility. That's why this language here says, unless otherwise approved. Because let's say we only close the south side, parts of the south side of Washington, and we decide to leave, this group here, decides to leave Railroad open. You know, for instance, Bread has enough space, they have tables there now, right? We wouldn't want to take that away.
Disagree.
Well, but they do have tables there now, right? They have a permit for
I'm
them.
saying those tables should be suspended.
But if we don't close Railroad, where would they put their tables? If they can be
None of the sidewalk, the space in front of Bread, measured out, does not allow for 10 feet around each table, 6 to 10 feet around each table. Keep in mind the tables have to be 6 feet, but then the chairs can move back 2 to 3 feet. So the ideal separation, from what I'm understanding, is a 10-foot space in a circle around each and every table. They cannot accomplish that on our sidewalks.
a 10-foot, well, the regulations, the
6 feet for the table,
right.
then the chairs are back a foot, and then the chairs need to still be 6 feet from the next chair. So the idea is 10 feet.
Okay, so that's a whole detailed discussion about executive orders, 11 pages of health department regulations. That's why the way number 11 is written here, unless otherwise approved, means it can't be done unless we approve it. And if a restaurant can't fit it because of the social distancing, then you're 100% right, it can't be there. There's no question about
The
it.
resolution needs to explicitly say that all existing, non-expired permits are suspended and do not comply with the governor's orders.
So is
They
that,
need to be explicit.
Jeff, back to your comment, is that what we should be saying? Jeff Zen?
Sorry, it was,
It's all right.
I think, but you have to be careful with that if it's not expired, if they can comply. If they can comply with the social distancing, why would you suspend their current permit?
I would like them to come for a review process to show us that they could do it before it's allowed to go forward.
Can I tip in?
Go ahead, Julie.
Can I tip in on which exact businesses we're discussing? Because, look, to Mayor's point, if we don't close Railroad, and it is a sidewalk which is why that the line is not
I'd
talk
love
to.
to have the ability of these restaurants to have curbside and pickup as well, and to have a safe space for those residents that want that option. I just think that this resolution is too vague on that issue.
So Jeff, how would you recommend number 11 being changed to make it less vague and give a little more teeth to it?
Well, what I would suggest, Lauren, is that to number 11, we add something like no tables, including those who have already received permits, will be permitted on sidewalks unless otherwise approved in accordance with this resolution.
That works for me, absolutely.
Okay, hold on, we're going to write that down.
Including those with existing permits?
Jeff, could you repeat that for Lizette, please?
No tables will be permitted on sidewalk, including those already who have received permits, unless otherwise approved in accordance with this resolution. So I want to tie it to specific health standards that are set forth in this resolution. So it's not an arbitrary action that the mayor and council are taking.
Okay, that's good. That's good, that's perfect, actually. Okay, so we're going to add this resolution to the consent agenda, please.
That works, everyone?
Sounds like.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Yep.
I'll unmute that.
Okay. Jeff, you wanted to speak about the 2020 summer concerts?
Yeah, so a couple of things. And I'm raising this with the council because this almost goes hand in hand with some of the downtown issues. The committee has been going forward. We are assuming, and the way that the governor's announcements are going, we're assuming that there will be concerts this summer. We're going to need, obviously, some ways to keep people socially distanced, number one. Number two, require masks. But number three, and this is the question I wanted to raise with the council, is where? Because there's really two basic starting questions. One is, do we hold it, because before I even get to the two questions, we can't hold it in Hyler Park or at Davis Johnson the way we have, because the venues by themselves are too small. They will not accommodate the number of people. In the past, we've gotten 250, 300 people on a given night for a concert, and that fills high. So, the question becomes, do we hold it somewhere downtown, because we do use concerts to bring in business? Do we hold it somewhere downtown, figure out where? Or do we hold it somewhere that's not necessarily in the heart of the town, where we have more space? So some of the things I'll throw out, I'm not wedded to any of them, is we have Sunnyside as an option. We have behind the high school as an option. Those are not going to generate traffic to downtown. One of the members of the committee suggested that if we get the showmobile, this is an interesting thought, so I'm just curious what you all think. If we get the showmobile, we're talking Tuesday and Thursday evenings only. Those are when the concerts are. We set it up somewhere around the diagonal parking across from the train station. Set the showmobile up there. Close off a lot of the parking area around Cafe Angelique, and have the band play toward Hyler, and in effect we've about double or triple the seating area by using the asphalt area around Cafe Angelique, around the railroad track, and more of the park itself. There's even the option of going to a resto and setting up a bandstand there and playing down Washington Street, but I think that's a little harder. But look, we want to go forward. We have bands lined up, a great variety, and so my question really is an open one. Where would you like to see it, or is there just a general consensus that this is crazy and we shouldn't have any concerts this summer? So that's my question. That's why I put it on the agenda.
Okay, comments from council members. Adam?
Yeah, I love that. idea, Jeff. I definitely would love to see it stay downtown. I love the showmobile. I love Hyler. Keep in mind, I would actually quintuple that space because we're going to have hundreds, 100 people downtown eating all across, Washington and Railroad and other places. So they're going to be able to listen to music. That's one thing that we heard from the residents. I think that's a beautiful recommendation. Strongly recommended staying downtown and whatever the chief and whoever safety-wise knows best to keep it there. So great idea, and thank you for that.
Comments from other council members?
Hi.
Julie?
I would like to say, Jeff, I think you should proceed because, I know Tenafly Nature Center is starting to open back up with some programming in person. We're seeing more and more, and I think an outdoor concert, this would be a great time.
Yeah, I think, Jeff, it's a great idea, keeping it downtown. I think you and Adam have it right. Lauren?
So I absolutely would like to see the 2020 summer concerts go forward. I think that, many of us are staying close to home, and it's a wonderful way for us to bring our community together. And Jeff, I know your committee has been working so hard on getting fantastic acts here for our residents. My preference is a field. I always, like the grass more than hot asphalt under me. I'm a little concerned about the flow of traffic given our downtown dining plan in and around Angelique. I know we're closing or proposing to close part of that parking lot to extend outdoor dining for Cafe Angelique, so that will take some of the area. And I'm not sure how close we want patrons of the restaurant to patrons of the concert, so we just have to keep that in mind. My preference would be either Sunnyside or behind THS, and I hear you. I don't think it'll bring business, but I don't also think it'll deter, because maybe if someone comes out for the concert, they'll say, oh, we'll grab some food in town and walk over, with a picnic blanket or so forth. So, I'm just concerned it'll be too crowded, although in an ideal situation, we'd always have them in Hyler right next to our business.
Dan? Oh, Vinu. Sorry, Vinu. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Lauren. Not so much that downtown wouldn't be great, but I'm concerned about the amount of congestion you might technically get there. So if you have it in a field, maybe you can get the restaurants to create a some kind of a partnership with us, so that we can promote them as being a venue before or after. The other thing we may just want to do, I mean, not to discourage people from coming in, but have an alternate source for people who don't want to come in as a live streaming or something like that. I think we need to look at that, because there's still going to be some people who are spooked by it, and but I mean, having a program of the restaurants, maybe saying from 5:30 to 7 or something, you can get a discount of this, or whatever, if you attend the concert.
Okay, thank you, Vinu. Lauren?
Actually, Anu, I love that, because if anyone participated in the Nature Center Brunch with the Birds, what the Nature Center did is they paired up and they designated, a handful of restaurants to have brunch in a box, which was a carry-out option in coordination with it. So what we could do is we could ask, sort of like Tenafly Cares designates, for each concert we could pick a couple businesses, say, are you willing to do a takeout option, and promote both the concert and that restaurant at the same time, and say, grab your dinner from X restaurant, come on over to the high school or wherever it is, even if it's Hyler, and enjoy the concert while you eat a Tenafly meal. So that would be twofold. The Nature Center did it beautifully. It was very well run. We picked up our box, and then we came home to our deck and we live streamed the concert. So that's another option as well.
Dan, do you want to weigh in there?
As long as it fits that plan with the showmobile fits in by Hyler, let's go for it.
Okay. Jeff, does that give you enough guidance there?
Oh, it definitely gives me guidance in two totally different directions.
Exactly. Congratulations.
So, just, Lauren, on the point about what the nature center did, that took a certain amount of coordination and legwork, and I will tell you, getting the showmobile, getting spades, getting all the logistics, getting the bands, enough legwork to do the other, something's going to get lost in translation, and it's not going to be pretty.
Okay.
Which is why that's one of the reasons I've sort of been leaning myself downtown. I know Sunnyside just won't, because if it rains within 48 hours of it, forget it. The other option, and to the idea of streaming, one of the things I am looking into is they do have this FM transmitter that you use for drive-ins. People can tune either using their phone or a radio station in their car. So we can extend our audience. It goes up to about a half a mile. And I actually think that this would be something I'd talk to Susan about, but I think we have it within the budget because we lost a few bands this year just because they're not booking. So we might actually might buy one of those devices. They're actually cheap. They're under $1,000. And that way we'd be able to have a live concert, and anybody who doesn't want to join the crowd within a certain radius will be able to listen to it.
Okay.
All right, so I'll talk to, I guess, Chief and give him more headaches about downtown, at least to see if it's feasible to do that area.
Okay. Go ahead, Lauren.
That's exactly what I was going to ask, Jeff. Have you spoken with the chief? Because if we push all the traffic into Piermont over there, I just wanted to see what he had to say.
I'm talking to you guys first. I really did not come here with any maps.
No, that's okay. That's okay.
I wanted to see what the council thought. I trust you guys and wanted to know, and you've given me guidance in the two different directions, and we'll figure it out.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Jeff. We'll move on to correspondence. The first item on the correspondence came to us from the Township of Millburn, recommending that we support coronavirus relief bond legislation and put forth a resolution and send it off to our friends in the State Senate and the Assembly. Any questions or comments in support or otherwise on this? No? No one's interested in doing it?
Give us a second.
Vanu?
On what benefit it might have for our borough?
Well, I mean, yeah, at this point, I mean, personally for our borough, we're not, again, I'm not an auditor or an accountant, but it does not appear today that we need, bonds of this sort to help us over the short term if we fall short on cash. But we don't know what's going to happen 3 months from now because we don't know the effects of the economic environment we're in today, and we'll start having a better sense of that come August 1st. So this would help other communities, though, that certainly have to float some emergency bonds because of their expenses. And there will be municipalities in this state that will be operating at a deficit this year.
But does this mean that the people who have our bonds, they have the ability to ask for relief as well?
As for what?
So the people who are essentially funding our bonds, can they ask for the same relief under this bill? It's not clear.
Yeah, I don't know. This is it as it's been presented to us. I don't know. Jeff, have you had an opportunity to read this, or Susan?
I don't think Susan's on yet.
No. No, it really,
No, I have not had an opportunity to read this, but I would think in response to Laura's question, even though I haven't read it, I would doubt that they would provide any relief to the folks who have issued your bonds.
yeah, it's basically their relief bonds that gives the boroughs emergency ability to sell bonding specifically associated with expenses caused by anything to do with coronavirus.
Since we,
Any interest in doing this, or no? Doesn't look like it. Vanu?
Just a question about, some of our neighbor towns, would they get benefit from it, do you think? If we can support them with possible legislation, maybe it's...
Well, I mean, absolutely. I mean, I could speak for, I believe Patterson has to do $25 million of emergency funding this year because they're going to have a $25 million revenue shortfall. And again, I'm not an auditor, but I would imagine that this would also, it could not hurt their cause, it would only help.
Then I would support this. They're within our district, they're within our community.
I would think that makes sense to prepare a resolution for the next meeting. Okay.
When do they need to hear back? Do we know when?
So the Assembly has approved this, the Senate has not, so we can't answer for when the Senate may or may not take up the vote on it, so I don't know the answer to that question.
Okay.
Can we write to Senator Weinberg and just get her take on this?
Absolutely.
Any issues in the language?
Absolutely. We can reach out to, Lizette, can you reach out to Senator Weinberg?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, the next item, correspondence, was a banner display request form from the Tenafly High School HSA, and they actually donated to this banner to the borough. And the banner talked about, congratulations graduates, didn't put a year up, so we're able to put that up every year subsequent to this if we choose. And they're very happy about it, so thank you. Okay.
Julie's asking.
Oh, I'm sorry, Julie, go ahead.
Yeah, so I was just walking by, after kind of like a storm the night before, and the banner was really bunched up, and you've heard of it before. And I just was wondering, is it our DPW that fixes the banner when it gets lumped up, or just...
The DPW installed it.
They install it and take it down
Yeah.
and store it.
Yeah, so the DPW installed it. We'll ask to find out, maybe they need to put a few more bolts in it or something to make it secure. Thank you for pointing that out. Okay, the Borough of Leonia has sent us a resolution that looks like they passed June 1st, declaring racism as a public health crisis. Have council members had an opportunity to read this yet? And would you like to support this and do a like-minded resolution? Any hands up there?
Julie gave a thumbs up.
Julie, you're good with this? Adam looks like he's shaking his head yes. Do I get a third? 4? We've got 4 votes. We're good. We'll have this on the 23rd. Thank you. Okay.
I know you have your 4 votes.
Don't take that personally, Jeff.
I just want to say that I'm a little tiny bit uncomfortable equating racism with mental health because that almost gives a protection under the Americans with Disability Act. I think it's a sickness, but not a mental health sickness. I think it's a disease that's passed on from parent to child and community to community. And so I just was a little reticent about that aspect of it.
I didn't love the language of this. I was going to suggest that we draft our own.
So perhaps, Jeff, since you spoke first about that, would you be willing to just communicate with Lizette to tweak the language a bit?
Sure.
Then we can present it to council at next meeting.
Okay.
Okay, the 4th bit of correspondence is actually from a group of residents up on Woodland Street, and they're asking that they put up the traffic calming signals, and they're actually very generously looking to pay for it themselves. The residents donated to the town. I had a conversation about this with the police chief, and he would be happy to have that conversation with the residents if the council was so inclined to accept the donation, and the police chief would determine where the signs go, and they would be permanently installed. It would not be the type of signs you see that are on the wheels that get moved around. So it would be a permanent installation and will not cost the borough anything. Everybody good with that?
Why would they want permanent and not wheels? It's cheaper on the wheels.
Well, they're paying, the residents would be they would be buying it and donating it to the town, and they're looking for a permanent solution to the speeding traffic there. Whereas the wheeled device would be in the middle of the road, this is off to the side of the road. It's not in the road itself.
But the permanent signs require maintenance and electrical.
Pardon me.
We looked at this when we were doing our police budget, because we have just put ones on wheels that are the blinking "your speed is" signs.
Okay, that's an open question. Go ahead, Vanu, and then I'm going to have an answer for that. Go ahead, Vanu.
Okay, so just, you know, I don't, how many streets do we end up allocating the number of streets that we're going to have speed limit signs on? You know, how does this work as a community, as a town? You know, how many of these do we want to see? I mean, what makes Woodland, I'm not saying they shouldn't have it or should. I'm just trying to understand what makes them kind of more special than somebody else, less special. You know, what's the purpose of doing all this?
So anecdotally, we have not experienced a lot of residents or many residents at all asking for these type of signs on their streets. We have had residents asking for speed bumps occasionally, which typically has not been granted or worked out. Perhaps maybe we send this to the police chief for his recommendation and discussion, and then we ask him those questions. How is this different than another street? And do we need this also somewhere else?
I'm just saying, it as a, you know, maybe we should look at, have the police chief make recommendations on if people were going to request signs, or if we're going to do this as a community, which streets would he think we should put these on? You know, something a little more organized rather than haphazard because somebody's willing to spend money on it.
That's fine. You've got that, Lizette? Okay, we'll report back on that. Yes, Lauren?
I just want to respond to Vanu. I know Woodland is a significantly used street to go from Tenafly to the George Washington Bridge, so it does get enormous amounts of traffic and fast traffic. I know I've walked and biked that street. It is one that should be regulated for traffic, and so thank you, Mayor Rustin, for addressing that. And Mark, to answer my own earlier question, I see that they would be solar powered, but I'd like to see what ongoing cost there would be, if any.
Okay, that's fine. We'll gather more information. Okay, any questions about the resolutions other than the two that we've added? Jeff?
So the resolution on TVAC, it's fine. I just had a question about the wording. Let me go to that resolution. R20, I think it's 210. I was just a little confused by the third whereas clause in it, because it's talking about the sleeper trailer, and then the third whereas is, whereas Captain J.P. Pedoto investigated the options to purchase tablets and related equipment under a New Jersey state bid contract, and then tablets aren't mentioned that I saw.
Was that typo?
So I don't know how that relates to the rest of the resolution.
It's a typo. It has to be taken out. Good catch.
So it doesn't really. Thank you.
We did that on purpose, Jeff. It was a collective test to see if you were reading all the resolutions. Well done.
I catch them once a year, that's my quota. And then I just wanted to make sure I understood, I think I do based on the letter and the agreement, but I want to make sure I understand what R20-211, the next one is about with Stephen J. Weinberg, Community Action Services. I think that's pro forma, but if I can get a 10-second explanation.
You want to do that one?
Well, to the best of my knowledge, the borough needs to have an affordable housing agent to oversee the sale and rental of the affordable housing units. Several years ago, I would say about 2012, the Bergen County Housing Authority did provide this service, and then they stopped providing it. So several times RFQs were issued, and it seems that Steven Weinberg is practically a proprietary vendor in this issue. So he does this for the borough and ensures compliance with COA regulations.
Right, and we don't need to do new RFQs on it at this point.
No, as long as he complies with the pay-to-play requirements, it's fine.
Any other questions? Go ahead, Julie.
So I have to recuse myself from one of the resolutions. Do I do that now, or do I wait till the next question?
Which one?
G, the,
She's getting a refund from a rec department.
F?
F.
the youth center of Freeman.
All you would need to do is when Omar conducts the roll call and it comes up to your name, you just vote yes on them and abstain from 20-207.
Open space. So we don't do the public hearing now, we're waiting, yeah?
No.
It's just a matter of
Mayor,
question.
I
Yes,
have two more.
go ahead, Lauren.
I have two that I want to bring up to the public, and we can talk about them later as well. But the first is that we have our National Gun Violence Awareness Day resolution. And of course, our borough for the past 3 years has recognized National Gun Violence Awareness Day beginning of June. We as a borough do not condone the use of gun violence in our borough and in our community and hopefully everywhere else. So I just wanted to recognize that we have that resolution on. And the second is I wanted to discuss the road program for a second. So we have 15 roads that are to be paved. Some of them have actually already started. I know Hudson started, and that's under a grant. Did Woodland, is that under a grant as well?
That was the New Jersey DOT grant that was already completed.
Okay, so I just want to let the public know. So along with the 15 roads on this proposed list, we do have other work being done. And please be considerate of our road crews as they repave our borough.
Go ahead, Banu.
Yeah, I might want to add that with the work that Suez is doing around town, we may have need for new roads very soon because I don't see them cleaning it up or putting down the pavement as clean as it should be.
Any other comments on the resolutions? Yes, Adam.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Just one on to Lauren's point, and I believe that hopefully it's public record. I've heard from a number of residents kind of how we're picking the roads, and this was something that was done. I know last year I wasn't part of the council, but red, yellow, green type roads. I'm assuming these 15 roads that we selected are all in the red category. But there is a process by which we've, publicly laid out all the roads. So just I know a lot of residents were asking that question.
No.
That's just one. I'm sorry.
So can I respond to Adam?
Go ahead, Lauren.
So Mazer Engineering, along with our DPW committee, has been for a few years now studying the condition of each and every road. We've done a full survey and ranked the need for the roads to be milled, paved, curbed, new maintenance, potholes, all of the things that go along with roads. And so these 15 roads are definitely in the red, along with numerous other roads that unfortunately couldn't get chosen. But again, this is the first half of the program, and we have roads in a second half of ours. This is the initial road choice. Is that right, Jeff?
No, Lauren,
This is all 15?
that's all 15.
It's all
It's all
15.
Okay. Well, what I was told by our experts is that these 15 were chosen. They're in very bad shape. They rank as some of the worst roads on our survey, so it's given to us by professionals, and we've chosen them. We've tried to hit all 4 quadrants of town so that we're covering main roads and side roads that are in dire need of maintenance in all parts of Tenafly. It's not just one area. What I'm told is if the asphalt pricing comes in reasonable, that we're able to do many of the side streets off of these roads. So they're going to have extra asphalt that maybe they can do the smaller cul-de-sacs and side streets that border these.
And then just the only other one that I had for 208 on the refunds. You know, again, in my personal life as well, you know, we're getting a lot of refunds, and I sort of have my own pet peeve that we never get the full, you know, $10 back. There's always $1 taken out. This $18 administrative fee, if the team is put forward, you know, if we've laid out money that we're not going to get back as a borough, I totally understand that. I would like to, again, you know, for the residents, I feel like obviously COVID has impacted all of us. If there is any way for us to make up the $18, I'd rather give all of our residents back the full amount with the, you know, again, outside of the fact that we had to pay something that we're not getting back either. So I leave that to the team to figure that out. But I'd love to give, if residents paid $10 for something and that's not happening, I'd like to give the residents back their full $10.
So what's happening is, so there's two A and B. A is when the borough has canceled a particular sport, or we've been ordered to by an executive order. Whoever signed up for it gets a 100% refund. For programs that are still running, and if a resident or a person who signed up chooses to withdraw from it, they get their full refund minus that $18 fee.
That has nothing to do with COVID. They're withdrawing because of COVID.
Yes, I mean, for all practical purposes, they're withdrawing because they don't want their child to go to that particular sport or whatever it might be. We always have withdrawals every year, but obviously this year we understand what it's for.
So I would say if this is COVID-driven, again, I understand the withdrawal. I'm supportive of if you, on your own accord, decide to pull out midway through, you know, the $18. If it's COVID-related, I'd love just to pay them back the full amount. Obviously, this was a you know, extraordinary circumstance.
Sure. Go ahead, Lizette. Did you want to say something?
No, just, when softball and lacrosse were canceled because of COVID, it was 100% refund. These programs in which there's an $18 deduction is for camp, and camp is still running, and there's still plenty of kids attending the camp. So it depends on the situation. If it's purely COVID and an executive order from the governor has mandated the cancellation, the prior refunds that the governing body has approved over the past couple of months, those were 100% refunds. We did not deduct the $18 for those.
Okay. Any other questions? Yes, Jeff.
Sorry, I forgot to mention this before. I just want to make sure everybody understands our 20-213 professional services contract is for architectural lighting at the Roosevelt Monument. It is the first step towards really a major rehab of that monument, which will include lighting, fixing the structure, doing a lot of work in the surrounding area. We have about 7 years until we're at the 100th anniversary of that monument. And it is on the national, state, and municipal and county historic registries because it's the first monument dedicated to Teddy Roosevelt as a naturalist, not as president. And so I do want to thank everybody for the support behind this. It's about just under $6,000 will get us the design and allow us to start moving forward on this project. So I appreciate it.
Thank you, Jeff. Any other questions or comments on the resolutions? Yes, Lauren.
This is a question for Susan and Lizette. What is CEDE and Company for $73,000 on the bill list?
Susan's not on. I don't think she's on yet.
Okay.
What was
Lizette, do you know?
Seed and Company. It's refunding bond interest.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions before we go to old business? Old business, Wi-Fi in the municipal building.
Yes, just a quick update. I know members of the governing body have issues whenever everybody's back on site, accessing, depending on their tablet with different models. And sometimes people who are doing presentations on the current Wi-Fi system. As of today, we had an installation done of additional Wi-Fi capability. So that was physically done today. We're still working out the login and the kinks. So hopefully when things go back to normal, once everybody's here, all their devices will work. And it's not just for the governing body, it's for the presentations, when the auditor is here working on the audit and accessing their databases and whatnot. So it's just an update.
Okay, all right, for the good of the order. Downtown lighting is the first item. Lauren, go ahead.
With your permission, I'd like to actually do item number 2 first. I think.
Sure, absolutely.
Statement.
George Floyd's statement from the mayor and council. Go ahead.
So I requested that we have a minute of silence for George Floyd and those lives that have been taken unnecessarily for violence and racism and intolerance and ignorance. So can we have a minute of silence?
You want to do that right now or in the public meeting? Right now?
I think the council should do it. I think we should do it again in the public meeting.
Okay, we'll have a minute of silence right now. Excellent idea, Lauren. Okay, thank you, Lauren.
I don't know if anyone else wants to comment on this issue, but I did want to read a quote that the New Jersey State Policemen's Benevolent Association issued. Their president, Patrick Colligan, and the quote is, "We must all fight against anything that would serve to drive a wedge between people of all races, nationalities, religions," and I'm going to put in sexuality as I wear my pride pin, who wish to live in a lawful society. And I think, this week with Pride and this week with the protests for George Floyd, we need to remember here in Tenafly that we'll not tolerate this kind of hateful speech and racism and ignorance in our community.
Thank you. Well, Vanu? Vanu, you're muted? Yeah.
I did want to make a statement, but it might be like a 4 or 5 minute statement, if that's okay.
Absolutely, go ahead.
Okay. So I just wanted to say I stand today unequivocally in solidarity with Black Lives Matter and those of the black community following the killing of George Floyd. I also want to say that I stand against the racism that is pervasive throughout the country and is manifest through situations like this horrific killing. However, I also thought it might be important to localize this discussion, so we're also talking briefly about our own community. 5 days ago, a brave ex-student within the Tenafly public school system added a post within a Tenafly Facebook group. As the George Floyd protests took place around the country and were being shown on television, one Tenafly resident was of two minds of whether to write about her experience at Tenafly High School. She started off by saying that she's lived in Tenafly for her whole life, and although she wishes that she could say that there is no racism in Tenafly, in her experience that statement wouldn't be true. In the post, she said that the racism and bullying she faced during sophomore year forced her to transfer to a school in another town. It wasn't direct physical bullying and racism at THS, but there were the slight comments, whispers, and stares that fed into a false image of who she thought she should be. She ended her post on a positive note by offering suggestions on what parents can do and how the community can improve. There were quite a few responses from Tenafly residents applauding her bravery for speaking up, and a few other alumni who wrote posts about their own experiences with what they perceived as racial bias within the high school community. As I was reading through them, I was reminded of a few of my own and my family members' experiences while living in the borough. Divya, my daughter, started first grade at Mom. I'm now in Tenafly, and I'm the parent of a young child in what seemed to be a friendly community. I thought that since we as Indians compose a small minority of the residents in Tenafly, it might be nice to explain a bit about Divya and her culture to other students and the teachers. To explain, we're not just classified as Indians, but as Hindu Indians coming from Kerala, a small state in India. So we thought that the best way to do that was to offer some information about the Hindu holidays that we as a family celebrate. I mean, who doesn't like holidays? We asked Divya's first grade teacher, Mrs. McCabe at the time, if one of us could come in to give a little presentation about Onam, or if not a presentation, just to pass on some information about the holiday. We were told that we couldn't do either of those things. We then raised that request to Dr. Bendo, the principal at the time. She told us also that we were not permitted to do this. At around that same time, my daughter was learning about the Jewish holiday of Hanukkah and learning some nice songs that helped to celebrate the holiday. Soon after that, she was learning about Christmas. Now, this didn't seem right to me. So I felt that I shouldn't be defeated by the situation and took it upon myself to create a colorful one-page explanation of the holiday, and I mailed it to all the families of her first grade class. We tried making the request again for a number of years after that, and we were turned down every time. Meanwhile, she was still being exposed to other holidays. My daughter would relay on a regular basis her different experiences, which she sometimes recognized as racial or cultural bias, but most of the time didn't identify it that way. She was at first probably just confused by the behavior, and eventually it started making sense to her that there were intangible forms of discrimination and subtle bullying taking place. What I noticed in reading the Facebook posts and the responses to it is that there is very little discussion about another set of stakeholders, the teachers and the school administration. Through direct policies and enforcement, or through indirect bias, the educators have a significant role in shaping how people feel and are treated. They have a truly heavy burden of being just as influential as a child's own parents. I might remind our community that we should be aware of how classrooms are managed both directly by teachers and indirectly by the administrator and by us in the public through the Board of Education. But as we all know, it's still worth noting that the Tenafly schools are not the only locale of people's discriminatory experiences. Consider my own experience a few years ago. I was volunteering some time on a council candidate's campaign at that time, and on a non-specific day in the summertime, I called her to say I wanted to deliver some forms to her, and I would come over to her home to discuss it. She asked me to come over, and we met on the sidewalk right in front of her house. No less than 5 minutes later, a police car drove down the street, which is not a commonly traveled police route. It wasn't Tenafly Road or Engle Street. He pulled up to both of us and asked the candidate directly, without addressing me at all, if she was okay and whether she needed assistance. She told him that she was fine and that we were just talking. The officer left, and she just apologized profusely to me, and I could tell that she was uncomfortable with what had just happened. We never talked about it again. The truth is, what do you discuss about a situation like that? She's of course not to blame, and I probably wouldn't even blame the officer for investigating or even confronting us. I might instead wonder how the resident that called to report us had explained to the police why they thought this was necessary. However, this isn't necessarily an isolated incident. So, just in conclusion, we are custodians of our society's future, and we should try to envision how we want that society to look. We can mold the way we want our future world should look. And I think Tenafly, as accepting as it is, can always do more. And I just wanted to leave it there, just something for people to think about. Thank you.
That was excellent, Vanu. Thank you for sharing that. Would anyone else like to make any comments? Julie?
Yeah, Danu, thank you so much for sharing that. Okay. George Floyd was calling out for his late mother in his final moments. Watching him struggle for breath for over 8 minutes, it's almost too much to bear. And one must recognize that it's been years and years in the making. To reach a point where a police officer felt he could kill a man on camera in broad daylight. We've reached a tipping point, and change must happen. I'm inspired by the activism I see, and I hope everyone channels this energy to fight for positive change. By getting involved in the community and participating through voting and all of the months in between. We all owe Mr. Floyd and countless others a better future. To that end, I'd like to quote Martin Luther King. Change does not roll in on the wheels of inevitability, but comes through the continuous struggle. So let's keep fighting for justice and kindness and a brighter tomorrow.
Thank you, Julie. Any other comments? Jeff?
Yeah, the other day there was the rally down at Highland Park. And I was really struck by the contrast. 2 weeks earlier, we had had a Memorial Day service there. And every year, including this year, despite COVID, at Memorial Day, they read a list of the names of people from Tenafly who lost their lives fighting for liberty. And each one is followed by absent. This is a long-standing tradition. And what struck me the other day was here are almost 2 weeks later to the day, someone reading a list of names of people who were died because of the failures of our liberty system. That liberty is not quite there yet. It's a reminder that the Constitution, whose first words in order to form a more perfect union, the founders recognized that we need to work hard. This would not be something that was settled on day one. It's not something settled now. I teach my students, and this is to Councilman Menon's point of teachers, I teach my students a lot about social injustice. And when I read about those who gave their lives, as I say, who were recognized at Memorial Day, their names are important, but so are the names that were read the other day, because they remind us that we need to do more to secure the liberties for all Americans. And I suggest for anyone who's never read it, if you really want to be inspired, there's a speech that the great abolitionist Frederick Douglass gave on the 5th of July. He was invited for a 4th of July speech given on the 5th of July in Rochester, New York. And it is just wonderful to read now because you realize the stirring words that he spoke that day, 168 years ago, still are the fighting words of today. So I hope everybody goes and reads that. Maybe at some point I'll share my favorite paragraphs, but not tonight. We have a meeting to get through. But thank you.
Any other comments from anyone? So I'm just going to say a couple of things. And, you know, as mayor, as council people, you know, this work and responsibility of changing the laws to really affect change in society falls upon us. It falls upon as a responsibility. It falls upon as a responsibility for our friends in the state legislature. It's really the protests, the outrage, the anger have to have meaning to us, and we have to go out and change laws and change ordinances. And kind of tying it what Jeff just said and Lauren and Pride Day, it's we need to do something, we need to actually do things to make a difference and not just talk about it. and it's highly incumbent on elected officials, all of us, to take our responsibility on this going forward. Thank you for adding that, Lauren, to the agenda.
I also want to say Tenafly is having a second rally Wednesday at Stillman, and I'm sorry I don't have the time in front of me.
5:30 it starts.
Thank you. So if any of our residents want to come show support and solidarity, please come on out to Stillman. Thank you.
Okay, moving on to downtown lighting.
Can I say one more thing?
Sure.
Sorry. And I told this to Vinu, it's not on the side, but I should have immediately said to that officer how inappropriate it was, that he would come and interrupt our conversation. And I am apologizing to Vinu publicly and forevermore, because that should never be tolerated in our society.
Thank you, Lauren. I feel, as profusely as you apologize, I profusely take the blame away from you.
Okay. Downtown lighting. Lauren.
So we have, to completely change gears, back to business, we have in our budget a line item for a lighting plan. So I've been talking with Susan and Lizette about how we need to go about this, and talking with Bob Colbert, our head of our DPW. So to get a permanent lighting plan for downtown, and it must be permanent because it needs a 5-year shelf life, because it's under our bond. So to get a lighting plan, we need to send out a bid. We have to do this by competitive bidding. So we need to task the DPW committee and the head of the DPW with creating this bid. So I'd like the permission to go forward with that process from the council.
So to use that money to put a bid together?
So it has, well, it's the money, technically should be paying for the actual lighting, but it looks like
It'll
we
pay for
need
the
to
plan.
go and get some options, some design options.
For the plan. So is that a conversation we first have with the engineering company?
First, because remember, we have a spending freeze, so
All right, someone's not on mute.
Any new residents, please mute.
Okay,
I'm trying to.
hold on.
Okay, so.
Go ahead, Lizette.
So, there was a spending freeze, and before just arbitrarily purchasing lights, you need a lighting design. So what I believe Lauren is requesting is for the DPW committee to come up with the parameters to, since it's under the bid threshold, it would be through competitive quotes. But before you even solicit quotes, you need the idea of what you're looking for to find a lighting design vendor to prepare the design, and then eventually seek to purchase the actual hardware. So what she's seeking is consensus from the governing body to proceed before taking any action, because it involves expenditure of funds.
Council members, how would you like to weigh in?
Just need nodding heads.
I need nodding heads, yes? 2, 3, okay. Looks like we're good to go. Dan?
Oh, I was gonna say no, since we have a spending freeze.
All right, well,
The question is, do you deem lighting, for pedestrian safety in downtown businesses, is that deemed essential?
Redoing them or making them nicer? Are they
A lot of the,
is it light bulbs or is it redoing the whole thing?
well, we have to get an assessment about the electrical work first. So we would ask
Is it
for,
functional or is it a cosmetic upgrade?
so according to the head of our DPW, and I hope I'm not misquoting him, the majority of our electrical grid still needs work. We have replaced 6 outlets out of the entire town, and the rest are not safe. No, but the rest are not safe, is what I'm being told.
You started with pedestrian safety. The lights or the Christmas lights?
This isn't Christmas lights. This isn't for Christmas lights. This is not just twinkly lights.
This is for
I mean, that could be eventually
sidewalk
part of
lighting.
sidewalk lighting, electrical grill. If we want to, add in some Christmas lights at the end for decoration, that could be part of the plan, but it's not the only part.
So if I can just clarify, Dan, to that point, you notice that there are now a few trees that have been lit up downtown.
Yes.
And that was a result of fixing the electric junction box at the base of the tree. Those are possibly the only functioning ones. All the rest are not functioning. They've either, from years of salt and such, they've burned out. Some may be live, which needs to be addressed. And so it's really, even apart from the lights, initially we need a safety upgrade if we want to be able to do any lighting scheme in town. So those have not been working for a while.
We're talking about those Christmas lights though, right?
No, it's
those
light
lights
posts.
that are in the trees are there year round right now. That has nothing to do with, it's not necessarily Christmas, no. It can be seasonal lighting, but you can't even have that without these being fixed. It wouldn't be as effective.
So just to,
Sorry, I'm
to
trying
add
to
on to that.
differentiate between sidewalk lighting, as in the actual lamps in the lampposts, the actual bulbs, or the decorative, quote-unquote, Christmas lights that go around the pole.
It's actually third.
It would be the electrical that would support both in the end. Essentially, what I'm being told from our DPW director is that our main electrical feed through the downtown was destroyed, and we've done some upgrades last year, but they had to halt the process because we didn't have more budget. Now we have more budget, and they'd like to continue the repair work on that. But eventually, that's what our streetlights will plug into, and if we want additional decorative lighting. But the underlying electrical work needs repair.
No, that's
So
not, Lauren, that's
it's
not the street.
Okay,
Street
not-
lights are separate. Those
they're on a
function.
separate grid, Jeff?
They're functioning. Those are done separately. We're talking about
Okay.
any lighting in addition to the street lighting.
Got it.
I think the,
Year round.
I think the point is we need to have a discussion about, we need to have a plan.
Correct.
Right, so we've got 4 council members who want to move this forward, at least, so we're good to go on this. Okay, all right. Next item, Suez lead results, update.
So I'm looking to our borough I know we are removing Suez piping. I have requested numerous times for the results of the lead testing throughout town. We haven't gotten them, so I'm going to turn this question to our BA and ask, do we have any results?
So before that answer gets done, we don't have any results yet from Suez. They haven't given us anything. I have a call with Kevin O'Connor, their government relations professional there, on Thursday, and that's one of the topics he and I are going to talk about.
So let's be very clear, because they're choosing to remove water mains throughout county and some of our main areas, which means they have the results, or else they wouldn't remove them.
Exactly, I agree.
So those water mains are about 80 years old. They're built out of concrete with some steel mesh on the outside. They are not soldered together with lead. So, you know, they are reporting to us that those mains are a function of their age, and that's why they're being replaced. I'm only talking about those mains.
I am sure they have done water testing within the past 20 years. I'd like to know what the levels of lead running through those pipes were.
Okay, I will bring it up again with him on Thursday.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, next item is furloughed employees update.
So I would like an update on the furloughed employees, was that?
You want to
Or
take that?
Susan
Who
or-
we brought back?
Who was brought back are the employees of the Recreation and Youth Services, and another employee will be, a couple more employees, 3 actually will be coming back on the 16th. So only 1 remains furloughed based on that department's activity, lack of activity.
The administrative assistants as well,
Yes, they're back.
and the part-time?
Yes, there's only one part-time employee because that department has no activity going on at this time.
I'm sorry, is that, so the part-time employees brought back at this time?
Who, the employees that are coming back next week on the 16th are 2 full-timers and 2 part-timers. So that it just leaves 1 employee furloughed.
What about other departments? Who else have we furloughed?
Nope, everyone is back except that 1.
Anyone else have any questions on this?
Any other questions from anyone on that?
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Next item is summer camp.
I have both Jamie Cannon and Mark Slauson are on to answer any questions and discuss camp.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. So I would like to make a pitch not to run the summer camp this year. I have been reviewing the governor's orders. I saw the order come out on summer camps. I reviewed it as well. It requires that small children actually are able to socially distance, which, from my experience being around a lot of small children currently, I have 7 and a 10-year-old, plus all of their friends, I can tell you is non-existent. They are not able to maintain the socially distant requirements that I think would keep the health and safety of our community. I am concerned about the spread of COVID, of course. I'm concerned about the inflammatory syndrome that's showing up in children 6 to 8 weeks after they've been exposed. So I would like to understand better how our summer camp is presenting this to our families and how they're going to ensure that we do not violate the social distancing.
So do you want to answer that? Should I answer? How do you want to?
We have Jamie and Mark on so they could speak to
So
their...
Jamie, why don't you go first?
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
So our camp, I had come back off of the furlough, and I was brought back because camp was going to be in session. I immediately hit the ground running as far as making sure that the kids would be safe and it would be a fun camp under the COVID operational plan for the requirements of the NJ Department of Health. I spent the time that I was away from the office reviewing every single guideline and becoming very educated on what's going on as far as camps and social distancing. The CDC and the New Jersey Department of Health just released the guidelines. Fortunately, we were ahead of the game, and we had already created a guideline book, and we had touched on every single guideline possible. I know that there's a lot of questions, and there's a lot of things that we can work on. I feel like we have a very strong plan in place as of right now to keep social distancing. We're keeping our groups extremely small. Our groups will be groups of 5. The CDC and the Department of Health recommend groups of 10. We're making sure to keep everything safe, sanitary, and clean, inspect it, and we're going to have extremely tight guidelines in place for that.
What I think I would like and would feel more comfortable with is if we had a set of written policies and procedures that we're going to have for all the parents and the families, the caregivers that would be participating. You know, very strict guidelines, obviously everything with the governor's orders, which I've read. I just,
It's easy enough.
you know, I am concerned about the downtown dining being too close. I am definitely concerned about kids playing with, you know, all the same softball.
So
Mark, you can go ahead and then I can chime in a little bit later.
go ahead, Mark.
Just to let you guys know, Jamie and I were pretty much on the same scale with everything. We were going to continue we're going to be outside in the tents in the open area, and we're also going to be having the kids with the social distancing. They're going to be sitting at 6-foot tables between
Speak into your microphone, Mark, please.
Excuse me?
Speak into your microphone closer.
Can you hear me now?
Much better.
Okay, all right. So I took one earbud out. That's what the problem was. So I ended up having the kids will be sitting at tables, 6-foot tables across from each other. I've also gone outside and, like you guys were talking about earlier with the outdoor dining, pretty much a 10-foot radius around with everyone. Also, there's a group that we're working with. It's called Oversight MD. What's going to happen is the parents are going to take the kids' temperatures before they come in. Based on a computer spreadsheet that I get, I will know what those temperatures are before the kids get there. The temperatures are also taken again once the kids show up for camp, and then they're going to be taken throughout the day as well. I think that Jamie and I've got this thing pretty well looked at, pretty well ready to go, and we looked at all the guidelines based on the state and also on the CDC, and we're ready to go with this.
I would like to add that Mark and Jamie did an excellent and professional job in developing the guidelines, because once it was announced that camps were open, guidelines weren't issued. But they were proactive. Like I said, they used their professional experience, followed the CDC guidelines, came up with an extremely comprehensive plan, so that way when the Department of Health finally issued the guidelines and everything was compared, every single box was checked off and then some.
Other questions from council members?
Just a quick question.
Speak up, Julie, I can't.
Sorry, the kids are not coming in with masks, right? I just wasn't sure.
They have to.
They have to. We're looking at buying a mask through through the fees that they pay, but we're also going to probably ask some of the parents to also provide masks as well.
So Julie, to answer your question a little bit further, Recky's Camp, we're providing masks to the kids that they have to wear. We're doing staggered drive-through pickup and drop-off. They're not allowed, the parents are not allowed out of the car. We're going to do a temperature check by a health director that we hired, thankfully from the Tenafly EMT squad. She's a medical student. We're going to do temperature checks and logs, HIPAA approved, at every drive-through drop-off. And they will wear their mask for most of the day unless they're extremely social distance and a heat wave, or if they're eating lunch. So there will be times where they do not have to wear their masks if they're doing like a soccer drill far away from another child. The CDC guidelines do state that they are able to take their mask off.
Yeah, no, I agree. I wanted to see if they had to wear masks in this social distancing.
Yeah, and the only time the kids are going to be having to take the mask off at the teen center is when they are out playing the activities on the main field.
Any other questions from council members? Lauren?
So if we're going forward with this, do Jamie or Mark, do you guys need any equipment such as disinfecting, wipes? I know you said, Jamie, you will be providing masks.
Mm-hmm.
What expenses are you looking for just to keep everything safe, healthy?
So on Recky's end, we have purchased used disposable masks, gloves, sanitizing sprays, antibacterial soaps and tissues, paper towels. We have industrial sanitizing backpacks, which will be used by 2 maintenance crew staff throughout the day, before and after. We also have purchased UV cell phone cleaners for the staff, UV wands for all of the equipment. So we have covered all the bases as far as how we clean the areas. We were putting that under our budget, under the FEMA relief and the COVID.
And as far as the teen center goes, we're going to be, I'm going to be going in early in the morning. I'm going to disinfect the stuff before camp starts. And my staff members are also going to come in with me, and we're going to disinfect everything that we use after camp ends. We're looking into buying a UV ray light to set it up, because I'm going to have to move the tables and stuff from the area where we're at into the cameras room, and looking for buying a UV ray light just to put in there to kill some of the germs while we do that as well.
Mark,
Yes.
speak with Cheryl at T-Vex. You might be able to borrow hers.
Okay. Okay, great. That'll at least save me some money, because this year I have to, I didn't budget in for the tents, so we have to try to figure out where the money and stuff is going from here. The other thing that I'm having a hard time with is the fact that since you guys have merged the teen center money and the youth and the recreations money, I'm having a hard time getting everything, my purchase orders approved prior to me going out buying stuff, so I'm a little bit behind on ordering my stuff that I need.
Yes, Lauren?
For heat wave days, days over 90 degrees, do we have a protocol, or are we gonna have some shade? What is the protocol?
Jamie, do you want to go first?
Sure. So we do have tented areas. Also, we're working with the school. So I'm working with Shauna and the Board of Ed and Yaz. As far as our facility use permits go, using the indoors and which rooms we can use inside, including the gyms or the bathrooms. So there's still a little bit of time they need to get me those answers as far as indoor space is concerned. Social distancing, obviously. We also have cooling fans, which we're going to do in sprinklers. We are not going to the pool because of many reasons. I'm not even sure if the pool is going to be opened, but we will provide the kids with some cooling stations that they can social distance.
What about hand washing throughout the day?
Yes, absolutely. We're sending the parents just little videos on how to just prep your kids to come to camp, how to wear their mask, hand washing. We'll go through that with them as well. And it's going to be, hand washing needs to be done every hour. So we're going to make sure, we have the outdoor bathrooms in the back of the high school. So it will become part of our day as far as the classroom schedule is concerned.
For the teen center, again, depending on the number of kids, we have the teen center open for us to go inside. We also have the McCandless room to go inside. Also, we will have hand washing stations at each and every one of the tents. So when they come off one activity to go to the next activity, they're going to be instructed to wash their hands and as they go along. I'm also going to have each kid is going to have what I'm terming as a safety and supply kit. They're going to have their own individual one that they will have to sanitize. It's going to have extra gloves in it, just in case they need a glove. It's going to have disposable masks in it, just in case they forget theirs at home or the ones they have outside is dirty. They're also going to have hand sanitizers as well, and then I'll also put a wipes and stuff on each one of their desks, their tables, as they go along.
And Jeff?
I assume that you have 0 trips planned, right? There's no way to go.
There's no trips planned. There's no only time we're going to go off site would be to the basketball courts if that's off the site.
All our trips are canceled, yes, and all other types of events, barbecues, and large gatherings, such as anything like that.
Because it's not permitted.
Right, it's not permitted, right. Any other questions from council members on camp?
No.
Okay.
Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Can I make a comment as to what was mentioned earlier about George.
Of course.
I'm gonna give you guys a little story that I actually found out this story at the funeral service of Mrs. Mandel, Mary Mandel, she was one of the founders. She was actually part of the League of Women Voters, who actually pushed the town to create the teen center. And what had happened was that she was also on the Youth Service Advisory Board. She was selected by the Youth Service Advisory Board to present my name to the mayor and council as the Youth Service Director. And when she went through all my credentials and everything, one of the councilmen said to her, and like I said, the first time I heard the story was at her funeral. And she was a very nice lady, and she never told me this, but I would love to hug her and give her a big kiss for it right now. Is the fact that one of the councilmen said to her, "You gave a great presentation for the new director, but you forgot to tell us one thing." And in a very polite voice, she says, "What did I forget?" And he says, "You forgot to tell us that he was black." And she said to them, "I didn't know this." And that made me feel great, because she looked at me as if I was a man, and not a black man. She just looked at me as if I was a man, and it made me feel really good. Now, on the sad side about telling that story, over the last 2.5 years working in the borough, I have felt that I have been mistreated, and that I have not, my 32 years of working there has not been respected as the professional that I am. And that's one of the things that I wanted to talk to the mayor and council about in a private moment, but I felt that this was the time to talk to him about it, and I appreciate everything that everyone said earlier, but as the only African-American director in the town, the past 2.5 years, I have felt a little bit discriminated against, and I just want everyone to know that.
Okay, Mark, thank you for sharing that. And
Thank you.
let's have a conversation tomorrow, please.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Can I get a motion to adjourn the regular meeting in the council chambers? Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So we're going to go, and Jamie and Mark, thank you for coming in this evening to help us with that whole program.
You're welcome.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Jimmy, Mark.
Jimmy.
Thank you.
Okay. Oh, I have to read the Open Public Meetings Act.
Somebody's bleaching.
Someone's what?
In the background, there's background noise.
Ready?
Yes.
Ready, Omar? Yes. In compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act, PL 1975, Chapter 231, the notice requirements have been satisfied. Meeting dates for the year are confirmed at the annual meeting, are posted on the public bulletin board in the lobby of the Municipal Center, and published in the record within the first 10 days of the new year. Copies of all revised or additional meeting notices are sent via fax to the Record, the Suburbanite, and Northern Valley Press, and are posted on the public bulletin board in the lobby of the Municipal Center. Salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, roll call, please.
Councilmember Dayton.
Councilmember Dayton? She's here, yes.
Councilmember Grossman.
Here.
Councilmember Menden.
Here.
Councilmember Michaels.
Here.
Councilmember O'Connor.
Here.
Councilmember Park.
Here.
Mayor Zinna.
Here. Could I get a motion to approve the minutes for May 19th, 2020 work session, please?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Jeff Zen, revisions to the agenda?
Sorry. Revision to, regarding the liquor license fees. To move that to the consent agenda. The consumption license by 50%. And I believe that's the only,
No, the outdoor dining resolution.
oh, right, the outdoor dining resolution, which has a change to it for the existing permits to be subject to the restrictions of this.
Okay, and I think there was one comment for an edit on one of the resolutions, Lizette?
On the outdoor seating with regards to.
No, the Jamie, JP and the
Oh,
notebook.
it's just, the third whereas clause had to be removed.
Okay.
It was redundant from
Okay.
a different resolution.
Okay, any other changes, Jeff?
I think that was it for me.
Okay. All right, thank you, Jeff. All right, we're going to open the floor for public comments. Audience members have 3 minutes, and when you start, please state your name and your address. So who's first?
Max has his
Max
hand.
Bosch.
And your address, please.
Okay, Max Bosch, 148 Magnolia Avenue in Tenafly, New Jersey. First of all, I want to thank everybody for remembering the times we're going through right now. And I'm glad that you mentioned the fact that tomorrow it's going to be a memorial or a basically event basically describing the existing turmoil that is going on in our nation. Thank you, Mark, for agreeing to participate and to open this event. And I'm asking every single one of the council members to do participate in the event. I'm helping the group that has put together this event. There are 5 kids from Tenafly, and most of them have finished the high school in Tenafly, and 2 of them have gone to Bergen Academy. On top of that, I would like to mention that when we did our resolution 4 years ago against the gun violence, we did not envision that besides the gun violence, we're going to have to worry about a direct hands-on violence. And I'm glad that the resolution against gun violence is going to be re-established and reread by the council. And I don't know how to change that part of it to make sure that also includes not only gun violence, but violence on the hands of other people. I would leave it up to you guys if you want to change it to incorporate that in the resolution. From the administrative point of view, for a very long time, people that are not part of the direct council do not see any of the documents. And there was the baloney that our previous administrator was saying, oh, well, we cannot show its documents. They are documents that we did not publish. But as a matter of fact, there is nothing to preclude the fact that the documents that are discussed by the council
can be viewed by the public. It was just a way of keeping control of everything that is going on. The letters that the council receives are public letters, so there should not be any issue with that. The material that the council basically debates, it's kind of a dark matter for people that are outside and would like to understand the issues. So I'm asking you again to look at that and make available to people that are participating in these meetings, either when we're going to have again direct meetings as a direct meetings, or when we have remote meetings, enough documentation so we do not just listen to things that are ununderstandable and defeats the whole purpose of a public meeting. Having 5 or 6 people discussing a document that nobody else even can fathom what's going on. I mean, what is in it? It's not a public meeting anymore. It's a closed a council meeting. So I'm asking them to reconsider that and be able to make public the documents that are not confidential, so people at least can understand what are you guys talking about.
Okay, so
Thank you for your time.
thank you for those comments. I'll have a side conversation with the deputy clerk and ask him to reach out to you to get a better understanding of specifically the type of documents and see if there's some things we can make more public earlier. Okay, next commenter.
Peter. Peter Rustin.
Peter Rustin, go ahead, please.
Okay, he's unmuted.
You're unmuted, I think. Hello?
Let me see. Peter?
Okay. Peter, you're not there?
Okay. Oh, wait.
No,
There he's here.
he's not
Maybe
there?
go to somebody else and come back to him?
Yes, that's what we're going
I
to do.
still see Peter on my screen.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's unmuted, so let's go to the next person and then come back when maybe he's muted on his end.
Deborah?
Deborah?
This is Deborah Davidson from the Tenafly Nature Center. Hope you guys are doing well tonight. I actually am on this meeting tonight because I wanted to bring to your attention some work that the Nature Center is doing in partnership with the Environmental Commission and the Green Team. We are working on setting up a all Tenafly basically cleaning day to kind of clean up the litter that's being, the excess litter, I should say, that's being kind of dumped throughout the town. We're working to schedule this for Sunday, June 28th from 1 to 4 p.m. And the hopes is that we can reach out to local churches, synagogues, youth groups like the Scouts, even potentially the schools, and basically, and also have the town support this and get behind this to make this an event that can actually be impactful and really try to give people something that they can physically do to help. Those who cannot actually physically go out and clean, we're proposing to do a trash-a-thon where they can then sponsor it, where it's like $10 a garbage bag that gets collected. That money going to one of the local charities, whether that's Tenafly Cares or the Nature Center or something of that sort. That is still being worked out. Carol Hodges is going to be speaking with the DPW to talk to them. So we're trying to work with the town and work with the individuals in the town to make sure we're not stepping on any toes and wanting to make sure that we're doing exactly what we're helping where it needs to be, where the help is needed. I know in the past they've reached out to the county to help with obtaining supplies. We want to make sure everybody stays safe. Obviously, this would not be large groups of people working together. It would be individual families going out and being as safe as possible. But once again, we're noticing a lot of extra garbage being left, not just at the Nature Center, but around town, and we're just trying to come up with a way to clean that up.
Okay, Deborah, thank you very much. If you need anything, please let us know. We'll be happy to help. Okay.
Thank you, Deborah.
All right, next.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, go ahead, Peter.
Okay, Peter Rustin, 295 Woodland Street. Two items. First of all, about the signage on Woodland Street. I just want to, first of all, to answer a couple of questions. I believe it was Lauren that brought up the question about maintenance. These are totally maintenance and electric free. They're solar powered, and once they go into the ground, they require no maintenance whatsoever. Second of all, Banu, I think you asked some questions about the uniqueness of the street. Well, North-South Street in Tenafly, we've got Knickerbocker, we've got Tenafly Road, we've got Dean Drive and Piermont Roads and Engle Street. All with the exception of Knickerbocker have sidewalks. Woodland Street, as Lauren mentioned, is a speedway. And Adam, I know Adam has been on that street many times. No sidewalks, and now we have a new smooth street that was finished last week. And there were speeding issues in that street when we had potholes and bumps, and now there are none. For safety purposes, the first person I talked about this concept was with the chief. He supported it. It's very preliminary. I didn't want to do anything without the permission of the governing body. I don't know that we're going to be able to raise any funds, but if we do, the chief will decide where the signs go. I think it's well served. If you drive into Englewood Cliffs, you'll see these very small signs that flash the speed limit. As far as I as a driver, nothing could be more visual than that. And I think people will be surprised as to the speeds they go on this street. And I'm somebody who walks that street from Tenafly into Englewood every day. And I wear a shirt that says, please slow down, 25-mile-an-hour speed limit. And the only people that listen are fellow walkers. So hopefully these signs would serve a purpose with your permission. The other thing I wanted to mention, you were talking about the downtown. I'm very concerned about taking away parking spaces. For those of you that never ran a small business, it's like walking a tightrope. It's a very, very difficult thing, and things are getting tougher and tougher to run a small business. And we've lost so much of our retail downtown. And the one store that I was very pleased to have come back after we lost our pet store was the new pet store. And to take spaces away from that pet store would be really harming that business. And if you want any retail at all, I know the nature of downtown is changing, but to put these take away parking spaces for the benefit of some restaurants, a small number of restaurants, not a large number of restaurants, I think it's all right as far as I'm concerned to put the tables on the sidewalk. But when you're losing parking spaces, I think that may not work out for the best of, for everybody. And keep in mind, let's hope that at some point in time, one of the biggest drivers over downtown is the movie theater. When that opens up, one of the big jaws of that movie theater are people that come down because they can park close by and go in there, and before they go to the movies, they eat. The movie theater, with the exception of maybe the diner, is probably the #1 driver of our downtown. And I don't believe that would be a very beneficial thing for the movie theater to lose spaces around West Railroad Avenue. So please, take that into consideration. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comments. All right, next speaker.
Julie has her hand up.
Okay, well, we're going to do the residents first.
Yeah, I have, while waiting to see if anybody else wants to speak, I have one email to
Go
read.
ahead.
The person did not leave their name or their address. It was just a general email, public comment for mayor and council meeting. To the mayor and council, we are grateful to have the opportunity to voice our interest in improving our town. It has been a long time that the area of the lake looks deserted and ugly. The lake was a beautiful and ecstatic part of the park. Currently, the water is filthy and the weeds and wild bushes block the view of the lake. The excuse was the ducks. Duma has a beautiful stream and lake that is well taken care of. Regarding taking care of the ducks, there are simple solutions rather than growing weeds. It is an eyesore. We wish it to be taken care of. We are aware the roads are in the process of being fixed, and we hope that it would include the area around Loudwood Drive. That was all.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments from the public?
No one else has their hand raised.
Are they all unmuted, or?
Everyone is muted, so to be unmuted, they have to, let me just unmute everyone.
So,
I just wanted to respond to one of the public
okay,
comments.
hold on one second on that, Julie. But while we're unmuting, go ahead, make your comment.
Oh, yeah, so I just wanted to point out I was gonna save this to the, committee time, but the Tenafly Nature Center director mentioned about the trash cleanup. That's going to be on June 28th, from 1 to 4.
Oh, there's too many people. Okay, thank you, Julie. All right.
I think Christine
There was a
Everett.
comment.
Okay, hold on, too many people speak. I think Christine Everon was next, please.
Hi, this is Christine Admiral, President of the Chamber of Commerce for the 9 Whipple Street. I did turn in communications from most of the businesses downtown today. I noticed they weren't mentioned, and the deadline was set to be 5 o'clock. They were in at 3. Just to summarize, on Washington Street, there are 2 major restaurants that need sidewalk seating. They only want to seat their patrons as far down as, not even Arthur Murray's studio. They think that's too far. All the rest of the businesses to the west of that, the dry cleaner, the leisure, the pet store, all need to have parking, floor and decor. Closing down Washington Street and not letting people park outside these businesses is dreadful. You don't go to a hairdresser in the summer in humid weather, have your hair blow dry, and then walk outside a block and a half in the humidity and still look nice when you get to your family's event or whatever you're doing. If you're going to the nail salon and you wear flip-flops, you don't want to go for a long walk after you get your pedicure. Of course, you don't want to take your 50-pound bag of dog food around to the back and walk over the parking lot from the pet store. Tenafly Kosher Deli is all takeout. They don't have any tables. Pizza Nova is all takeout. They need people to be able to drive up, get their food, and leave. There aren't enough spaces for them. For these stores, you need to leave the traffic with Washington open and figure the people enough space. We put down tables for quick feet apart from the back of one table seat to the next table seat. So there are a full 20 feet apart, so people can walk the room and still have a very long safety distance. People are walking around downtown all the time now without masks. They're just like the diners. They manage to go past each other without any problem. That's their problem. We don't want to contribute to that. But to think that people are not going close to each other just because they are not sitting down is not what's happening downtown. On Redwood Street, we've got 4 retail businesses that are going to be badly hurt by not having traffic outside them. Tamlin is the only restaurant that normally has serving tables. Those 4 retail businesses will have their streets shut down while Tamlin is closed on Friday and Saturday. This isn't fair. The question of basic fairness, you've got to balance the great majority of businesses against the needs of table seating, and without sidewalk seating, or with sidewalk seating, you can do a very fair solution to all. We'll submit plans for sidewalk seating for the restaurants, but closing down Washington and railroads from Washington to Clinton is very, very hard on businesses. And I would like to end with thanking the council for taking into account how COVID's been harming our alcohol serving businesses. They really appreciate decreasing the license fee. And we do appreciate your work. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, do we have a next speaker? Was that?
I don't see anyone with a raised hand unless,
No one has a rate.
Can everyone else still mute, because someone was talking while Christine was talking?
But we're trying to giving people the opportunity to, is there anyone else out there who would like to speak as a member of the public? People aren't raising their hand.
I don't think they know how to, Mark.
So if people know how to unmute themselves, are there names there at all that we can
there
call?
are names if they log in through a computer or a tablet. If they're calling in, it just shows a
I see.
call-in user with a number.
And everyone's unmuted?
And all the call-in users are unmuted.
Okay, all call-in users, you're unmuted. If you'd like to say something, speak up, please.
Okay,
Okay, maybe they don't want to. Okay, that's fine, okay.
Close public comment.
Okay, so we will close,
Can I offer one suggestion? I had about 50
Okay,
people who
who-
were very passionate, wanted to speak tonight. This is Christine Evans, sorry, 39 Leroy. People wanted to speak tonight, and they were trying to call in. If you could open up the meeting 15 minutes early so they can make sure they've got the connection, because they tried for the first 5 minutes before it opened up, and they were convinced their access code didn't work.
Well, we were in a closed
It would
session,
be
so
helpful if it opened up early. That's all.
we were in a closed session earlier. Normally, I do open the meeting 15 minutes earlier, but since we were in closed session, I could not run 2 concurrent meetings.
Okay, thank you for the comments, though. Okay, so a closing public comment, and could I get a motion, please, to approve the consent agenda as amended?
So moved.
Could I have a second, please?
Second.
All in favor, or do you need to, roll call, please?
Julie needs to abstain from one.
Right.
Councilmember Dayton?
So I need to abstain from, let me just get the number. From R20-208, which is letter G, the Recreation Department, because I'm receiving a softball refund. Other than that, I vote yes.
With or without the $18?
Councilmember
I will
Gross?
give the borough my $18.
Go ahead, Omar.
Councilmember Grossman?
I agree with you, Adam, on that, by the way.
Councilman Grossman?
Yes.
Councilmember Menon?
Yes.
Councilmember Michaels?
Yes.
Councilmember O'Connor?
Yes, and I'm gonna abstain on R20-207.
Councilmember Park?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, committee reports.
Wait, Mark, before we move on, just so the public knows, just so everyone knows, we just approved a reduction in liquor license fees for our downtown restaurant consumption license holders, and we just voted yes to our outdoor dining plan and a resolution. So good work, council, and let's hope we make a difference this summer.
Okay, committee reports. Lauren, you want to go first?
Many of you know Pride Day occurred this week, so I'd like to start with that. Thank you to Natalie Kavanaugh and the whole Pride Day committee, Max Bash, Dory Kavanaugh, Holly, Scott Allen, JP, for running a very nice Pride Day in the pouring rain. The 1 hour rain that day, we were all outside trying to make speeches and wearing masks. Thank you to the mayor and our chief and the rest of the council who attended. I do want to say, again, along with all of our comments on racism, that it is so important to be an accepting and tolerant community for all, and that includes all sexual orientations, sexuality, gender identity, non-binary. So please, get to know your neighbors, get to know your friends, be accepting to others. So that should be our message for Pride Day, and it was done in honor of our first responders, especially Scott and JP, who have been on the front lines of COVID for months now, and so I can't say thank you enough to them. And the rest of course, our TVAC and first responders as well. So that's Pride Day. Our Tenafly Nature Center, you heard from Deborah, they're going to do the trash day. A few other updates, they are doing pictures at Fister's Pond this upcoming weekend, not sure if all the spots are sold out, but it's a fundraiser. They are having you socially distant, one family at a time. You get an hour slot, and they have a professional photographer coming to take portraits. Hopefully it will not rain. So that's a wonderful fundraiser they have. We also, as everyone saw, that was circulated, have sent a letter to Montami Golf Club for permission to survey the property.
I think that might be closed issue stuff.
Sorry, you are correct. Anyway, everyone, we're trying to move on Pfister to clean up our pond. Thank you, Dan. The other committee reports I have, the DPW committee will be searching, and we will discuss this later, for a DPW director yet again, started here. And our recycle program, it will start planning to get information out to the public. And Jeff, you could help me with that discussion as well on your committee report. And I believe that's all I have.
Thank you, Lauren. Dan?
TVAC went out on 42 calls last month, and unfortunately there's a slight tick in site transports for mental health days for certain people, so we're going to keep an eye on that. They're still crushing it with the birthday calls. They did 50 in May. They have 15 kids in class for the fall, and 8 seniors from the high school got a shout out in their paper because they were actually doing things normal high school students wouldn't be doing during this time when they were still going out in certain calls and working hard. So, thank you to them.
Anything else, Dan?
No, that is it.
Okay, thank you. Jeff, please?
All right, a bunch of them. Starting with Planning Board. Planning Board did its actual first major item of business. There was an application from 20 Chestnut Street. If you're not familiar, that's not too far from Stop and Shop. It's where underground training, physical fitness places. And they had an application to put 3 two-bedroom apartments upstairs and change the facility a bit. And it was approved, I'm very happy to say. So we have a new mixed-use facility down there. As far as the summer concerts, we discussed that a little bit. We are plowing ahead. We have a bunch of groups that we have been in touch with continuously to tell them we're in a hurry up and wait mode. And it looks like we will just have to figure out the exact venue, the exact details. And as soon as that's all actually solidified and we have the go-ahead from the state, we will plow forward. One of the interesting things about it actually is that one of the members of the committee does a lot of work for sound and concert planning for Woodbridge. Woodbridge does about 5 concert nights a week, 4 or 5, much bigger. And they're wondering what Tenafly is doing. So that was kind of cool that Woodbridge is looking to, is Tenafly going forward?
That's good news.
The Stigma-Free Committee, you'll start to notice that there's signs around town with the number in case people need help. There has been an uptick in the number of emotional disturbed events and mental challenges. And hopefully as we're able to get out a little more, this will change. But for now, the reality is that a lot of people are having a lot of coping problems. If anybody in particular on the council wants signs on their front lawn with the number, please let me know. I will be happy to get them to you. Lauren, you hardly have anybody drives on that, but I'll get you a sign. And Vanu, I'll drop one off of you. Anyway, that's Stigma-Free. Historic Preservation Commission met. We voted on tonight an important element, the lighting plan for the monument. nice thing about that is that that will be coming out of open space, so it's not going to impact our capital budget. We do have a matching grant already that we need to go forward on. The next phase of that, which the commission's been working on, is getting the State Historic Preservation Office to sign off on who is going to do the work and the work that will actually be conducted. They do have an expert in monument restoration who was used a number of years ago, and they're trying to get him rehired. Last but not least, and this really, I think, will deserve its own separate discussion than a committee report is DPW. Obviously, we're back in the mode of trying to figure out who's going to be running DPW. We need to figure that out. We also will be rolling out the recycling program in the next few months, which is going to take a lot of education, a lot of management of our resources, mostly explanation to the public how it's going to work, what goes into it, what these systems will look like. We're going to have the one-arm recycling trucks. People will be able to roll out these new cans they're getting. They do not have to carry them. One of the concerns we had was with senior citizens in particular who are used to lugging cans down to the end of the driveway or being fortunate enough that DPW walks to the top of the driveway and picks them up. These are on wheels. They're very lightweight, well balanced, and we will try and get, before it goes into effect, some demonstration models out there so people can try them. That way we'll have much faster pickup. We'll be able to free people up for fixing potholes, maintaining parks, and doing other essential services, which we've been short-staffed, which is a whole separate issue as well. So that's it in a nutshell. Those were the 5 reports.
Thank you, Jeff. Vanu? Vanu, you there?
Yes, I'm here. So the Tenafly Board of Adjustment met last week. There were 2 applications. In one case on 41 Norman Place, the applicant wanted to expand the single-lane driveway, which leads to a 2-car garage, into a 2-lane driveway. The property width, it's a narrow lot, so the property width is 50 feet, of which the driveway is currently 11.5 feet. So that allowed for a 10-foot left side setback, and but when they were looking into making it a two-lane driveway, it would have resulted in a 49.6% front yard coverage, which is above the 30% required. So after a little bit of talking back and forth, they thought that they could reduce the front yard coverage a little bit by moving it, from 2 feet from the other property to 3 feet. That didn't work, and they ultimately came down to a front yard coverage of 48.5%, which the board thought was not an adequate reduction. So the application was denied in a unanimous decision. The second application, the applicant was interested in adding a second story to their current house. The permitted floor area ratio for the zone is 37.5%. They were over on the far by about 50 feet. So the side yard with the 7.5 feet abuts the driveway so that it apparently doesn't impede the neighbor's enjoyment of their property, and the application was approved in a unanimous decision. So that was the only committee report.
Okay, thank you, Vanu. Julie?
Yes, I'll start with, just so you know, Jeff, I already have a stigma-free sign on my lawn, and I have a very good lawn for it. Visible. So thank you for that. And I'll start with the environment.
Hard to hear you, Julie. Yes, better.
So I'll start with the Environment Commission. So the plastic bag ban was proceeding with our late town attorney, Bill McClure. So unfortunately, of course, the plastic bag ban, along with many other things, is in a bit of a transition. So while we bring our new attorney up to speed, so we are proceeding with the plastic bag ban, just discussing the ordinance to draft with our new town attorney. Also, I mentioned that the trash-a-thon is going to be June 28th from 1 to 4, and the green team is going to be using the Tenafly Nature Center program to register the attendance and the sponsoring. So please, everyone, keep an eye out for that. And our census committee, hopefully, that you will start seeing some signs at some of our major intersections about completing your census, because Lisette did an amazing job waiting on the phone to the sign vendor that it looks like we're a go, and as soon as they're delivered, you should start seeing them all very soon.
Is that it, Julie?
Yes.
Do you know what percentage success we're having in the census up to date?
I'll get that to you. I'll
Okay,
in a second, but I will in a few minutes.
that's fine. Adam, go ahead.
Last I checked, we were over 40. 70, I'm sorry, not 40.
70.
No, we were at 67.
Oh, good. Adam, go ahead.
Yeah, so quick, we had a busy couple weeks. So, first start off with Tenafly Cares. Huge thank you to the Tills, to Mark Aronson, and then everyone, Mary and Stephanie and Kathy and Susan's office, done an amazing job. So just to share with you some of the numbers, we're now almost at $78,000 our residents have raised for Tenafly Cares. Just absolutely amazing. Over 5,000 meals we've provided the seniors and students of the town, and we've given almost $45,000 to local restaurants. So, I mean, I don't know which one of those three are most are coolest, but again, $45,000 already in the hands of local restaurants. So that's been wonderful. Second thing is in the run-up to the downtown discussion, which we've had. We had a chamber meeting last week, had about 25 members of the business community there, and that's where we got a lot of their feedback. That was a good meeting. And then finally, we had a downtown committee as well. So a dedicated number of folks on the downtown committee. About 10 folks have done so much work to help get us to where we are, provide feedback. I know they roll up their sleeves, helping us figure out what tables to possibly get and things like that. So huge thank you to each member of the downtown committee. So overall, just been a very, very productive couple weeks. So thank you.
Okay, excellent. That's great news about Tenafly Cares. Great community. I mean, that's just great news. Good job on that. And it looks like the census, our rate is at 73.5, I'm being told.
Okay, thank you for grabbing that.
Okay. Let's move to the public hearings.
Yes, the first public hearing is on the borough's Open Space Trust Fund grant application with Bergen County for the Sergeant Nicholas Oresco Memorial Park Pathway Project. And we have with us from Major Consulting, Marie Raffay, that can give some highlights on the grant application.
Go ahead, Marie.
Hi there, how are you tonight?
Good, thank you. Thanks for being here for us.
You can all hear me with us. Absolutely. So Andy sends his regrets that he couldn't be here tonight, but I wanted to share with you what we're working on for your open space grant program for this year. So just to let you know that we did advertise for this. It was advertised on May 29th, 2020, that we're having this public hearing today. The goal of the Bergen County Open Space Program is to increase and improve outdoor, passive, and active recreational activities. The deadline for this grant is June 29th, 2020, and they've made some accommodations for the COVID issue that's been going on. I think this was actually supposed to be in April or something. So this year, your project is located at Sergeant Nicholas Oresco Memorial Park, and which is, obviously you know, is owned by the Borough of Tenafly at 100 River Edge Road. The proposed project is the installation of a pathway from the monument that's in the center to the southeast corner of the green. It's going to include pavers, 2 benches, some landscaping, water fountain, and hand washing station, as requested. I think that was talked about more recently by your council. And just to tie this all in, this is continuing a pathway project that was done in 2018. A portion of the park was already put in with 2 pathways, and this is just going to complete that project that you guys already started. The scope of this project is going to be some excavation and prep work of the pathway. We're going to install some pavers, the benches, the water station, the hand washing station, and then landscaping where needed. So the total project cost for this is $66,206, of which you are requesting a grant of 50% of that, which is $33,103. And so your matching grant would, the matching money would be provided by the town budget, which would be $33,103. Are there any questions on the project? What's going to be included in it?
Any questions from the council?
Dan raised his hand.
Dan, go ahead.
You said this was for the south corner, the south portion? I thought it was for the northern portion.
It's the southeast corner of the green. So it goes right from the center where the medallion is in that center, and it's the one leg that goes down to the southeast corner.
I thought we were doing the basketball hoops. Is that the southeast? Is that the southeast?
No, that's the northwest.
So that's the corner we want. We want the station in the northwest, don't we?
No, here's what was missing from the project. The project, there's a pathway when you come out of Borough across the bridge. If you're coming from the library, the teen center, all the people who travel out. There's a path that goes to the medallion straight from the bridge. And then it goes to the northeast towards the post office.
Mm-hmm.
And there's nowhere to cross the road there. And there's no way to get to Washington Street safely unless you're walking along the circle where the traffic goes. There's no sidewalk there, and you're with your back to traffic. So the idea was that the original plan had a sidewalk going from the medallion pictured towards Washington Street where the crosswalk is. And that is the southeast corner. Now, where Washington stations and all that go, there are other paths in there. Those could possibly go anywhere, but the path portion, that's where we're missing, and everybody just kind of walks across the grass there.
Mm-hmm. So I'm fine with the path. Can I make a suggestion that the hand washing stations go to sorry, I'm gonna get this wrong, the north side closer to the basketball? So that way, people using our public basketball space have the water fountain and hand washing station closer too?
Absolutely.
I don't know how everyone else feels.
Well, when you say towards the basketball court, do you want it closer to Tenafly Road or closer to the brook? Because it's a big court.
Halfway?
Halfway, okay.
What would make sense? I don't.
No, the brook, the entrance is right by the brook. You need it closer to the brook.
But are people from town going to go walk over across the park to use it?
People from the basketball court, the busiest court in the area, will
we want the hand washing station for those in and around Washington Street a little bit.
I suggest take a look at the site, go down there and see the layout.
Wait, you want me to leave my house? Hold on a second.
You could do it virtually.
Well, maybe,
I'll Google Earth.
maybe Mazer can give us, look at it and just give us a recommendation based on, you know, their professional view of where most traffic will come from.
And we could do that, and it just as a reminder, this is actually just to put in the grant for now.
Right.
When it comes time for designing it, that would be a better time for us to talk about, you know, let's put this amenity in this corner over here. We can certainly have that discussion.
Okay.
Thank you.
If there's no other comments from the council, I'm going to open the floor for public comments on this open space application and see if anyone has comments.
Since the callers can't raise their hand, I have to unmute them.
Okay. Any callers wishing to speak on this topic? No?
No.
Okay.
Close the public comment.
All right, I'll close the public comment on this topic. And Jeff, would you like to make a motion to adopt this resolution?
I move to adopt resolution 20-215.
Can I have a second, please? Second?
Second.
Can I have a roll call, please, Omar?
Councilwoman Dayton?
Yes.
Councilmember Grossman?
Yes.
Councilmember Menon?
He's muted.
Vanu?
Yes.
Yes.
Councilmember Michaels?
Adam?
Yes, yes.
Councilmember O'Connor?
Yes.
Councilmember Park?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Omar, moving on to 2009 and 2010. Do you want to read the confirmation of publication, please?
Sure. Ordinance number 20-09, an ordinance amending Chapter 2, Section 2-25 of the revised general ordinances of the Borough of Tenafly entitled Department of Public Works. An ordinance number 20-10, an ordinance to fix the salary, wage, or compensation of certain supervisory and administrative employees of the Borough of Tenafly represented by OPEIU Local 32.
Okay, I'd like to open the floor for any public comment on ordinances 2009 and 20-10, please. Anyone out there from the public? No?
No.
Okay, I will, did we hear someone?
No, that was just background.
Okay, I'll close public comment on that. Lauren, would you like to make the motion to adopt, please?
Yes. 1 second. Just take it together.
Take your time.
I move and pass and adopt on second and final reading ordinances 20-09 and 20-010, and that notice of same shall be published according to law.
Okay, roll call, right?
We need a second.
Second, please.
Second.
And call the roll?
Councilmember Dayton?
Yes.
Councilmember Grossman?
Yes.
Councilmember Menon?
Yes.
Councilmember Michaels?
Yes.
Councilmember O'Connor?
Yes.
Councilmember Park?
Okay, thank you. Now we're going to move on to new business. Okay. Motion. So I want to point, I just want to bring something to everyone's attention here for these HR director. Isn't it supposed to be HR manager
HR manager.
for 2012 and 2014?
Right.
Hold on a second.
Manager.
Can I just say something before we delve through this one?
Sure.
I had sent Anthony Bacci some updated comments that couldn't make it in time for tonight. So I have sent him an entirely different and expanded ordinance on the HR. But what I would suggest, given that I know I want this to be more expansive and we will not have time to discuss it, and we would like to get this position hired, is to consider this language, and then we can always amend the ordinance if need be to add to it.
Okay, right, because we can't actually make the job offer until this becomes
And we
Right.
need this job
Adopted.
to be
Adopted and published.
adopted and published. Okay, so,
Just to be clear, Flora, if you move this first reading, that's the way it would be adopted, but you then can subsequently amend the ordinance.
Right.
Okay.
And since time is of the essence here, we want this position to start as soon as possible.
Okay.
You know, I think this ordinance covers broadly what we need, but I would like to then take the time to work with our counsel and our attorneys to really delve into what we want this position to be.
and that's fine, but let's just come back to this original question about director versus manager. So I thought this was going to be a manager, and somehow it got turned into a director. Is this just a typo, or was there?
We advertised it as a manager, HR manager.
So we should make this manager, right?
So, let's see, this just creates a department, so there's no change to 2011.
Right.
Okay, so 2012, the title has to be changed. And some language in the ordinance has to be changed. Fix that later. And then 2014, the title has to change in the salary ordinance. So it would be a change to 2012 and 2014.
So when we make the motion, it has to be read that way.
Correct, so when Omar reads the title, the only title changes in 2012, the very last line, establishing the position and duties of the manager of human resources.
Okay.
I have a question for Jeff Zen, if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
Edited part of the HR director or manager position to incorporate one of the provisions out of the BA description, jobs and duties and responsibilities. But there's additional changes to the BA that I believe fall now into the HR that aren't reflected in these two drafts. Does that also mean we would then just make another amendment, if that's what we want?
Yeah,
Yes. Good. Yeah, yes, Lauren, that is correct.
okay. Any other questions? All right, Dan, you want to read this one, please? Make the motion.
I move to introduce and pass on first reading ordinances 20-11 through 20-14 and set the hearing for June 23rd, 2020 at 8 p.m. or soon thereafter in the Tenafly Municipal Center.
Could I have a second, please? Omar, do we do the roll first, or you read it in?
I read it in.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, what did we decide about the title? We could pass it with this title and then change it?
No.
No.
Since it hasn't been introduced, it will be changed, so then when you see it at the next meeting for adoption, anywhere where you see director now, will say manager. It was able to be changed in time,
Go ahead, Omar.
because it's not
If that's the case,
substantive.
can we change other?
No, because this isn't substantive to the change, it's just a one-word change.
Got it.
Go ahead,
Speed it up.
Go ahead, Omar.
Ordinance number 20-11, an ordinance amending Chapter 2, Article 2, Section 2-7B of revised general ordinances to create the Department of Human Resources. Ordinance number 20-12, an ordinance creating a new ordinance in Chapter 2, adding Article 7, Human Resources, Section 2-77 of the revised general ordinances to establish the Department of Human Resources, delineating the organization of the department and establishing the position and duties of the Manager of Human Resources. Ordinance number 20-13, an ordinance amending an ordinance of Chapter 2, Article 2, Section 2.8-4J of the revised general ordinances to delete the responsibilities of the role of the Borough Administrator. Ordinance number 20-14, an ordinance to fix the salary range of certain management and administrative employees of the Borough of Tenafly for the calendar year 2020.
Okay, so now, Omar, can you read the roll, please? Roll call.
Councilmember Dayton.
I'd like to pass all of these and create the HR manager.
Councilmember Grossman.
Yes.
Councilmember Menon.
Yes.
Councilmember Michaels.
Yes.
Councilmember O'Connor.
Yes.
Councilmember Park.
Dan?
Yeah.
Okay, that's new business. We'll go into mayor's remarks, and then we'll do mayor's remarks, then I'll go into closed sessions. A couple of announcements out of the governor's office today. Most of you have probably already heard this, but for the public, the governor lifted the stay-at-home order effective immediately today. Indoor building capacity, houses of worships and other places is now moved up to 50 people or 25% of capacity, whichever is which lower. Outdoor gatherings have gone from 25 to 100 people. Political gatherings are exempted from the limit. Pools and locker rooms open June 22nd. Outdoor entertainment is okay to open up except for amusement parks or water parks. Golf returns to full normal operations tomorrow, Wednesday. Libraries, we're going to find out about curbside pickup and return probably as early as this week. And high school graduation ceremonies can be up to 500 people as of July 8th. The last thing I'm going to say is about Mark Slauson's comments at the end in terms of how he felt, and I'll flush that out with him tomorrow to get an understanding of what's going on there. It's unfortunate that it's very unfortunate that he feels that way, but I'm glad he said it so that we can work at making the situation better. And with that, I'm going to ask for a.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, just
go ahead.
Because you just mentioned the thing on the governor.
Yeah.
So a couple people asked me about tents. Like if you have a tent, this was actually for a, someone's house. You can have a tent up, right? That shouldn't preclude you doing the outdoor dining for like restaurants or stuff.
A tent in your own backyard?
Or like at a restaurant, if you put up a tent, in a parking lot or something. I thought that was correct. Someone told me that you can't put up tents.
I don't, these days, that's a technical question. I don't have, without the governor's details and orders. Yeah, we can take that offline and find out the answer to that question.
Thank you.
Good.
Sorry to interrupt.
No problem. Can I have a motion to, I'm sorry.
Jeff has to read the closed session.
Jeff, could you please read the closed session?
This is a motion to enter into closed session, be resolution 20-216. Be it resolved in compliance with NJSA 10:4-12. The mayor and council of the borough of Tenafly are going into closed executive session to discuss the following matters. A, personnel. 1, police department. 2, DPW director. B, attorney-client privilege. 1, Tenafly Swim Club. 2, the veteran exempt tax deduction.
Can I get a motion to adjourn the public meeting and go into closed session?
So moved.
Could I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, just give